I got this. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is the public hearing and public meeting of the Committee of the Whole regarding bills number 250195, 250196, 250197, 250198, 250199, 250200, 250201, 250202, 250210, 250211, 250212, and resolution number 250214 and 1811014. Ms. Lawhead, will you please call the roll to take attendance?
Councilmember Squilla. Councilmember Gautier. Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Driscoll. Councilmember Lozada. Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Phillips. Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Harity. Councilmember Ahmad. Councilmember Landau. Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember O'Rourke. Council President Johnson.
Present. Thank you. A quorum of the committee is present, and this hearing is now called to order. Ms. Lawhead, will you please read the title of the resolutions?
Bill number 250195, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1500 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax by revising certain rates under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250196, an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2026. Bill number 250197, an ordinance to adopt a fiscal 2026 capital budget. Bill number 250198, an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2026 through 2031 inclusive. Bill number 250199, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-2600 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes, to revise tax rates and end certain exclusions from the tax on receipts, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250200, an ordinance amending Chapter 12-1000 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Traffic Code, to revise the fee for the use of parking meters, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250201, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1800 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled School Tax Authorization, to provide for an increase in the tax that the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia is authorized to impose on real estate, and amending Chapter 19-1300 entitled Real Estate Taxes to establish an equivalent reduction in the tax rate for the city real estate tax, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250202, an ordinance amending Section 19-1806 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Authorization of Realty Use and Occupancy Tax to eliminate certain exemptions, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250201, an ordinance amending Section 10-1001 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Fees of Commissioner of Records, to increase the portion of fees for the recording of deeds and mortgages and related documents to be used for housing trust fund purposes under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250211, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1400 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Realty Transfer Tax, by revising the rate of the tax, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250212, an ordinance to amend Chapter 19-4400 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Development Impact Tax, to end the imposition of the tax under certain terms and conditions. Resolution number 250214, resolution providing for the approval by the Council of the City of Philadelphia of a revised 5-year financial plan for the City of Philadelphia covering fiscal years 2026 through 2030 and incorporating revisions with respect to fiscal year 2025, which is to be submitted by the Mayor to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority pursuant to an intergovernmental cooperation agreement by and between the city and the authority. Resolution number 181014, calling for the Council Committee of the Whole to convene public meetings and public hearings pursuant to the educational supplement of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to review the administration, management, operations, and finances of the school district and adopt plans to coordinate the activities of the Board of Education, the Mayor, and the City Council for the improvement and benefit of public education in Philadelphia.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lawhead. Today we continue the public hearing of the Committee of the Whole to consider the bills read by the clerk that constitute proposed operating and capital spending measures for fiscal year 2026, a capital program and a forward-looking capital plan for fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2031. Additionally, this meeting meets the requirement of the educational supplement of the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to renew the administration, management, operations, and finances of the School District of Philadelphia on a biannual basis. This morning, we will hear testimony from the School District of Philadelphia, and in the afternoon, we will hear testimony from the Community College of Philadelphia. Ms. Lawhead, will you please call the first witness to testify?
The first person to testify is the Honorable Sherelle L. Parker, Mayor of the City of Philadelphia.
Thank you so much. I want to have another dental emergency. Good morning. Cold water. Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Coming along, Mr. President. Thank you so very much for having me.
That's good. Just state your name officially for the record, Madam Mayor, and you can please begin your testimony.
Good morning, Mr. President and members of council. My name is Sherelle Parker, a forever member of the City Council of Philadelphia who happens to be the mayor of the City of Philadelphia. Thank you.
You're welcome. Somebody playing Biggie? That's what we doing this morning? Okay. At least I know you got some skill, you know, some swag, whoever that is out there.
Good music. Should I proceed, Mr.
Yes, you can begin, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm sorry. Before I get started, to my team, if somebody could bring me some tissues now, that'll be good. It's allergy season for those of you who
We got you.
don't know. Let me start by saying thank you so very much, Council President Johnson, Majority Lead, thank you. Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, Majority Whip and Education Committee Chairperson Thomas, and all members of council, thank you for having me here today. I want to acknowledge Board President Streeter and members of the Board of Education and our Superintendent, Dr. Tony Wallington, and I want to thank them for their continued hard work on behalf of our city and our students. I also, Mr. President, want to start by thanking all of the members of the City Council of Philadelphia who are present today for your continuing commitment to our Philadelphia public schools. We all have high expectations for our students, both district and charter, and together we will give them the support that they need to succeed. We also share a vision for our schools. High quality, well-compensated educators, strong academic programs, modern facilities and playing fields, enrichment programs, and academic supports that rival our suburban neighbors. The ambitious path set out upon us, it has challenges, but together we have made progress and our momentum is building. As you will hear from Dr. Wallington and the school district's team, test scores have improved, student attendance is up, and the dropout rate is down. It came as no surprise then when District Leadership Development Institute named our superintendent, Dr. Tony Wallington Sr., the nation's Superintendent of the Year. Can we all give Superintendent Wallington a round of applause?
Madam Mayor, he was also honored in this body for achieving such a significant accomplishment.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. So I used the language that no surprise, it's no surprise because we've seen with our own eyes that Dr. Wallington is a leader of vision and principle who not only faces the most difficult challenges ahead, but finds the best solutions and then moves quickly to address the next one and then the next one. That's why I often refer to him as the best superintendent in the country. Last year, Mr. President, together, this administration, along with the City Council, we made critical investments that affirm the city's financial commitment to the school district to meet the district's needs and priorities. I also have to inject here, as a matter of personal privilege, I want us, the council members, along with the administration, to always be proud of the fact that no one had to mount a campaign or organize to advocate against us about that increase in the millage that we made last year, or what we introduced in our budget that was presented to this council, Mr. President, because we did the right thing, because it was the right thing to do. I also want to affirm that we made investments that support parent priorities and that their children are inspired through quality enrichment programs. Find interests that keep them engaged in school, and that part is important, to have increase their sense of belonging and to also simply bring them some joy. Our first budget, this council, along with the administration, included that increase of $250 million over the 5-year plan in direct funding to the school district of Philadelphia. And that was on top of the $284 million in annual general fund support. And again, it's like thinking about the argument right now in the battle that we're in for mass transit. I want the people of the city of Philadelphia, our taxpayers, our residents, this legislative body, the administration, to realize we didn't need anyone, Mr. President, to tell us to do the right thing. Philadelphia is already paying its fair share and continues to as we invest in public education. So that's why it's important to note that last September, in very close collaboration with Dr. Watlington, the Board of Education, we launched the Extended Day, Extended Year pilot initiative across 25 schools to support our families and shrink the enrichment gap. That's 20 traditional schools and 5 charter schools. Now, this initiative, Mr. President, has added 7,000 new seats in before and after care, winter, spring, and summer camps, all featuring new art, science, sports, and other enrichment programs designed to engage and inspire our students. I am proud to state for the record, and Mr. President, I was a little excited, so I made them go back and check these numbers 5 times because I was so proud of them. But I am proud to state for the record that our spring break camp that concluded a little more than a week ago was a great success, with almost 1,660 students enrolling and a utilization rate of almost 90%, Mr. President. So what are we doing here? We are modeling for students to meet the goal of having them attend 90% all year round. So no, I haven't given up on that idea of having year-round access to educational opportunities in a structured learning environment. And the stats here affirm that it is not only desired and needed as it relates to parents and families, but the children had an amazing time. In addition to that, I want to pivot now to the partnership with the school district and the Community College of Philadelphia, where we launched together with Philly Works the City College for Municipal Employment, or CCME, that we refer to it as. It's a national first, Mr. President, to create pathways to careers in public service. Where did the idea come from? Mr. President, I kept hearing, even when I left this body, people talk about the vacancy rate of employment opportunities and positions that were in existence here in the city of Philadelphia. And I remember the day that I had a John Lewis good trouble moment. And I said, we shouldn't look at that as a negative. That is that right now we can find a way to capitalize on that. Since we know all of our young people are not going to college, that's not the path they desired. We can talk about the building trades, but don't you ever forget to talk about city employment. When I grew up, the police commissioner, cops, firefighters, teachers, they all lived in our communities. Why not work to plug our students? Imagine graduating this summer or spring from the school district of Philadelphia with a high school diploma and walking directly into entry-level training and an employment opportunity with the city of Philadelphia that pays a living wage, retirement security, and health care. That was a very important moment for me, Mr. President. Again, real jobs in city government that pay good wages with health care and pensions. That is the pathway to self-sufficiency. And for all of the people who love data, who have been reading Raj Chetty's research relating to economic mobility, and you can relate to Philadelphia's standing, and we are not proud of our standing. We are glad that before that data was released, we had already introduced our City College for Municipal Employment concept, but it's amazing when the data affirms work that is already being done, and we'll get to the private sector in a minute. It is important for me to note that CCME is not just for adults, because I was at the Cato ceremony. The penny ceremony took place yesterday at the community college, and I'm looking at the young people who were there, and I was talking to some people who were observers, and they had never heard of it before. Can I get my young person engaged in that program? Absolutely. Together with the Mayor's Office of Education and the Chief Administrative Officer, Camille and Dr. Carrera have done an amazing job, and I want them to know I'm grateful. CCME started what we're referencing as Serve Your City. It's a program designed to increase awareness of city jobs among high school students and to give them credit that counts towards graduation. So now while we're creating that pipeline, consider it like work study almost. So we're really happy about that. Our collaborative work with the district and nonprofits and colleges and universities to strengthen the teacher pipeline, it has also gained momentum. And Mr. President, we've talked about this as an aside, about the number of teachers that Philadelphia needs to recruit and have in the pipeline. In February, our city joined with our partners to establish, and this is important for everyone to note for the record, to establish a 5-year goal to increase new teacher retention from 79% to 85%, and to work together to meet that goal. We reaffirmed our commitment to building a diverse teaching workforce, one that reflects the diversity of our city and our student population. We are currently right now working with Sharif El-Mekki and other partners to create new programs to achieve this goal. In addition to that, in my budget proposal for the next 5-year plan, it continues to support these priorities. We have made a long-term commitment to continue to grow the share of the property tax millage that goes directly to the school district by 0.5% to 56.5% in FY30, generating an additional $12 million per year for schools. Now, Mr. President, I know, and I have heard, some members of council affirm that we should be doing more. We should be doing more sooner. And, I agree. I love the idea of doing more. But this is what we can achieve given all of the other demands on our city. And those are needs also that we must address. In addition to that, Mr. President, I have to note for the record, for those who said they wanted to do more, Again, I say don't listen to what I say, watch what I do. I was the candidate on the trail who committed to moving the portion of our property taxes dedicated to public education from 55 to 58%. So I'm on the record as making that commitment, and I've never been one to try to shy away from any commitments that I've made, but we have to do it in a fiscally responsible manner. We'll negotiate and work in partnership. First, of course, with you, Mr. President, and all members of the leadership team and members of council, but I just needed the record to reflect, because sometimes people, when you communicate messages to people, they might not get the whole picture. So again, no one had to force us to make an investment in public education. We believe in it because you and I wouldn't be in the roles that we're in now without it. In addition to this, I want to note that I have made that commitment and I plan to stick to it. So with your agreement, Mr. President and members of council, our hope is that we plan to expand the extended day, extended year program to include 10 more district schools in September, as well as 5 more charter schools, increasing the number of extended day, extended year schools from 25 schools to 40. In addition to that, there were some members at a meeting we had last week, and while we haven't done it directly here, I know the school district, I remember hearing Dr. Watlington talk about something that the late Superintendent, Dr. Arlene Ackerman, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, Parent University, I think that was it, something that she worked on. And while we were in the meeting talking about our new program or proposal to go from 25 to 40 schools, Mr. President, it's nothing like having the public check you. There was a woman who said to me, that's nice, but what about a focus on the parents? We need to do more for the parents, because if you want to treat and support the whole child, it's not just the child, it's their caregivers and their providers. So I wanted to acknowledge that we don't have it, it's not perfect, Mr. President, but we constantly attempt to move the needle. In addition to that, I want to say this, and I think right now our legislative leaders in Harrisburg, along with members on both sides of the aisle, I think they are watching the city of Philadelphia. That means the school district, this council, and the executive branch. They are watching us very carefully about what I'm about to mention, Mr. President. Since I was here last year, we have done a significant amount of work to identify and vet members of the Mayor's School Facilities Advisory Group. And Mr. President, I plan to announce, and my hope is that you'll be standing right by my side along with council's leadership and members of council to announce that membership in a few weeks. This group will be co-chaired by Chief Deputy Mayor Vanessa Garrett Harley from my team, and John Christmas, Chief of Staff to the President, Council President Kenyatta Johnson. I will continue, and I know you will, and members of this council will continue to advocate for new state funding. The school district is facing a deficit and needs new state dollars. But make no mistake, the General Assembly does have a constitutional obligation to make up for 2 decades of underfunding, and we will remind them of that responsibility, Mr. President. And for you and I, and Councilmember Driscoll, not sure or who else who served in Harrisburg, reminding the legislature about that responsibility is not new to any of us. We did it when we were in Harrisburg, and we continue to do it now. So, let the record reflect that those of us who served in Harrisburg are no Johnny-come-lately advocates to advocating for and securing. That's important to note, too. And when we did it with a Republican governor, a Republican-controlled House, and a Republican-controlled Senate. And I'm looking forward to continue working with you and members of this body, and working with our legislative leaders and Speaker McClinton, Appropriations Chairman Harris, Leader Bradford, Appropriations Chairman Hughes, Governor Shapiro, and our colleagues on the Republican side as well to continue to push for that support. Finally, let me say this is not Mayor Sherelle Parker speaking. This is what the Commonwealth Court has noted as it relates to the Commonwealth's investment in public education. Finally, I also need to acknowledge that we are facing a new level of national uncertainty, and that I know it is troubling to our residents. We are crystal clear here in the city of Philadelphia, because we are a city united for our children, that every child in our schools is deserving of our very best efforts every day, Mr. President, and they deserve our care, our respect, and our support, and that is what I promise to continue making a priority. I look forward to working with you, sir, to adopt a budget that builds upon the progress we've made together, that reflects our goals and supports those values. Finally, I want to say this, because I've been thinking about this, Mr. President. I was thinking about this last night. As an aside from public education, we're working on a $2 billion housing plan right now. For the people of Philadelphia, I want them to truly understand what I meant when I said in no way, shape, or form would I ever support policy making and or financial investments being made in the city of Philadelphia while I'm the mayor that pits the have-nots against those who have just a little bit. And I'll tell you why I don't think that makes good economic sense and why it's not worth taxpayer dollars. That is, we need to fill the teacher pipeline. We need to have police officers, firefighters, nurses, correctional officers, and we want them all living in the city of Philadelphia when and where possible. We want to train the next generation of skilled workers in the building trades who can become our dedicated workforce to help us with home preservation. With that being said, we have to find a way to incentivize them to want to choose Philadelphia. So, Mr. President, the best way someone described it to me recently is that, you know, Sherelle, you've got to have a giraffe lens when you're looking at the city of Philadelphia, and you don't get the opportunity to just think about one thing in isolation. You've got to think about how employment in the city of Philadelphia, housing in the city of Philadelphia, tax policy in the city of Philadelphia, public safety, public health, how does it all seek to incentivize people to once again choose our city? And if we're going to have a citywide housing program that is supposed to have a citywide impact, Mr. President, and that means people from all places and spaces. And so my hope is that on the day, members of the City Council of Philadelphia will take that, even housing. We're here today to talk about public education, but couple it with what the governor was brilliant enough to propose in his budget. He didn't pull that idea of providing stipends for student teachers as education majors across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, of giving them a stipend while they're doing that student teaching. That came from him talking to subject matter experts in higher education and people who are doing the job, Mr. President, that says you need to incentivize folks to choose education as a major, because it's not lucrative, particularly with student loan forgiveness seeming to be running away as a potential for everyone and may not be available. How do you encourage people to choose an industry in a career that doesn't make them a millionaire? Well, I think about housing in the same exact way. Municipal workforce, teachers, nurses, let us lure them and tell them to choose Philadelphia, because we implement public policy from a holistic perspective. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. President, Leader Gilmore Richardson, Whip Thomas, and all members of the City Council of Philadelphia. My name is Sherelle Parker, Mayor of Philadelphia, and I want us to be one Philly, a united city. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Madam Mayor. Let's give our mayor another round of applause, please. Ms. Lawhead, will you please call the next person to testify?
Yes, Reginald Streeter, Philadelphia School Board President, and Dr. Tony B. Watlington, Superintendent.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
We'll have testimony from Dr. Wallington, then Chairman Streeter. Is that correct? Okay, Streeter, you want to go first?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman. Before you get started, I just want to acknowledge Dr. Dawson. Can we give him a round of applause, please? Special academics. For those who don't know, Dr. Dawson is the Deputy Superintendent for Academics. Dr. Dawson has worked with me in a second councilmanic district, my most important position as a district council member, supporting schools where young people had perfect attendance. I work with some partners in the neighborhood to provide them free bicycles as a way of encouraging them to stay on the path of getting a good quality education, but most importantly, focusing on academic achievement. So I want to personally thank you for your hard work and your dedication. And as always, it's good to see you, Dr. Wallington, and you're no stranger to being out in the community, whether it's Child Elementary School, rather it's talking to me about how we can improve the conditions of John Bartram High School. You're always out and about making sure you're on the ground running and addressing the issues. And I tell you privately as well as me telling you publicly, I do thank you for staying on the job. Usually when there's a new administration, there's a new superintendent, from David Hornback to Dr. Arlene Ackerman to Paul Vallis. But I thank you for sticking and staying on behalf of our young people. I know Philly could be a little rough. You're from down south, so I thank you for sticking it out. And so I appreciate your support, and I mean that sincerely, good brother. Thank you for your hard work. And to Chairman Streeter, we talked just about just being dads beyond just us doing our work as public servants. So always thank you. I know you're celebrating Alpha anniversary this past weekend, so congratulations as well. And with that being said, please start your testimony.
Thank you, President Johnson. So good morning, everybody. Good morning to Mayor Parker, who's here, President Johnson, Chair of Education, Isaiah Thomas and Whip, Vice Chair of Education, Councilmember Dr. Anthony Phillips, Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, and Minority Leader Brooks, and to the rest of City Council. Thank you all for being here today for this very important ritual that we engage in every year around the budget time. Thank you for inviting the Board of Education and School District of Philadelphia to share key updates on our work since the last time we were together. I'm joined today by my colleagues on the board in force, Vice President Sarah Ashley Andrews to my left, board members Crystal Cubbage, Cheryl Harper, Whitney Jones, Chow Wing Lam, Wanda Novales, Joan Stern, Joyce Wilkerson, and I am Board President Reginald L. Streeter. I'm going to ask the board members to please stand to be recognized. Thank you all for your service. And on behalf of the board, I would like to begin by taking a moment to thank Mayor Parker and all members of City Council for your continued partnership and commitment with the Board of Education and our school district. Madam Mayor, thank you for your steadfast commitment to public education and our shared focus on student success. We look forward to continuing our partnership with you and your team to advance key education initiatives. We also value our ongoing collaboration with the Education Committee, led by Chairman Thomas and Co-Chair Dr. Phillips, Councilmember Phillips. Appreciate the opportunity to provide monthly updates that keep you informed and your members informed of our progress and priorities. Thank you so much for spending some time with us monthly doing so. And seated to my right is our Superintendent, Dr. Tony B. Watlington Sr., and members of his leadership team who will share important updates on the district's progress toward the board's goals and guardrails, facilities planning, and the current budget cycle. Please move to the next slide. Over the past 4 months, the board has been hard at work expanding our village, bringing together leaders, advocates, and allies committed to propelling our school district to ever new heights. Together as a 9-member board with diverse perspectives, we've leaned into healthy debate, knowing that our differences make us stronger and lead to more thoughtful, student-centered decisions. We remain focused on educating the whole child, prioritizing access to the mental, physical, and emotional supports students need to thrive in and beyond the classroom. While we are proud of the progress we've made, we know the journey isn't over by no stretch. Still, we feel confident we are on the right path and remain committed, Council President, to pushing forward with urgency and care. Even as we face uncertainty, including around federal funding, our commitment is unwavering. We will not be pressured into decisions that compromise student safety or our well-being. We stand firm in our values and our responsibility to serve Philadelphia's children with courage and integrity. Please move to the next slide. As we get started, I would like to share a brief outline of our presentation today for the board. We would like to start by reviewing our vision and mission, which the board adopted alongside the Accelerate Philly strategic plan to improve progress toward our goals and guardrails. We will then provide some updates on the work of the board and recent progress it has seen aligned to those goals and guardrails. Next, we will share an update on the board's recent progress, including our community engagement efforts, ongoing work with charter schools, and recent advocacy initiatives. We will close with brief updates on facilities and the FY26 budget. To be clear, our presentation will provide a high-level overview of progress, while the district's leadership team will offer a more in-depth presentation. Thank you. And at this time, I would like to pass it to the Vice President of the Board of Education, Sarah Ashley Andrews, for the first set of updates.
Thank you, President Streeter. The board's vision to prepare students to imagine and realize any future they desire grounds every decision we make in the limitless potential of our young people. Our mission calls on all sectors of public education to act with urgency and in partnership with families, educators, and communities, reminding us that student success is a shared responsibility. Whether we're approving policies, allocating resources, or evaluating progress, the board's vision and mission serve as our anchor, ensuring every decision is rooted in equity, opportunity, and respect for all students. Please move to the next slide. Our goals remain clear and ambitious and focused on educating the whole child, and our guardrails keep us focused, ensuring every decision centers student achievement, equity, and the voices of families and the communities that we serve. From early literacy to college and career readiness, we are driving towards significant gains in student proficiency across ELA, math, science, and CTE by the year 2030. We know our goals and guardrails are working. Early progress shows student outcomes are improving, and we're building on the momentum to ensure every student has the opportunity to succeed. The board will continue to operate with a steadfast focus on its mission and vision, using its goals and guardrails as the foundation for all decisions to ensure increased student achievement. Please move to the next slide. Our students are making real, measurable gains, especially in reading and math, demonstrating the strength of our recovery and the instructional focus. Our strategic investments in academic recovery and acceleration are showing results, with students steadily regaining ground and exceeding state and national trends. These early wins affirm that our long-term goals are within reach, and we remain focused on sustaining this progress across all grade levels. To ensure that we are indeed headed in the right direction to meet our long-term goals, the board remains actively engaged, whether celebrating staff, at the IMSDP Pet Rally, supporting early learning through the Thrive by 5 campaign, participating in video production for one of our CTE programs, or visiting schools to connect with students and educators. The ongoing presence reflects our commitment to staying connected, accessible, and grounded in the real experiences of the communities that we serve. Because our best decisions are made when we listen, when we learn, and when we lead together. Next slide, Pete, please. The board continues to conduct regular school visits to stay closely connected to what's happening in the classrooms across the city. These visits give us firsthand insight into how students are engaging with the curriculum and how school communities are supporting learning. So far, during the 2024-2025 school year, the board has visited 12 schools, 8 district schools, and 4 charter schools. In October of 2024, John H. Webster School, Amy 5 at James Martin, January 2025, Sadie Alexander School, and Paul L. Dunbar School, February of 2025, Math, Science, and Technology Community Charter School, and Sankofa Freedom Academy Charter School. In April 2025, we visited Roberto Clemente Middle School, John H. Brown School, Baldy Middle School, Belmont Charter School, and the Jacqueline Y. Kelly Discovery Charter School. By observing instruction in action and speaking directly with educators, principals, and support staff, we're better able to understand the opportunities and challenges schools face each day. Our visits also help us assess building conditions and facility needs, critical insights that inform our planning and resource allocation decisions. Please proceed to the next slide, and I will hand it over to our board member, Cheryl Harper.
Good morning. Thank you, Board Member Vice President Andrews. Next, I will give you an update on the individuals who bring feedback and perspective to the board, our Parent and Community Advisory Council, as well as our student board representatives. Next slide. Okay. During the January action meeting, the board introduced its 14 parents and introduced 14 Parents Community Advisory Council for the 24-25 and 25-26 school year. This iteration of Parents Community Advisory Council represents a broad range of voices, including parents from the district and charter schools, community members, and staff who reflect the diversity of Philadelphia schools, communities, and neighborhoods. The council will provide valuable feedback on board policies and initiatives to ensure that they align with the goals and advancing student achievement, and they will continue to share monthly reports during the board action meetings. Please go to the next slide. Okay, our student board representatives. Our student board representatives are Charles Rinker, Kinsey Ahmad, and alternative board member Jake Benny. They play an essential role in evaluating the student's voice, particularly their own involvement on the facility planning project team, where they ensure students' perspectives shape and the district and long-term planning. Please proceed to the next slide, and I will introduce Board Member Whitley Jones.
Good morning, and thank you, Board Member Harper. Now we will move to an update on the board's work as it relates to the charter school office. Considering that we've received new charter applications this year and we will start the renewal process within a few weeks, we thought it would be helpful to review the board's role as an authorizer for charter schools in Philadelphia. The board is responsible for overseeing all brick-and-mortar charter schools in the city. Our role is to oversee outcomes, not operations. We do not run charter schools, choose charter school curricula, or make staffing decisions for charter schools, but we do ensure transparency, responsible use of public dollars, and strong results for students. Next slide, please. The board's responsibility expands the entire life cycle of a charter. At the start, the board considers and authorizes new charter schools applications. Once a school is approved and receives its charter, it is evaluated annually in partnership with the charter school's office. Then, at the end of the 5-year term, the school returns to the board for a comprehensive renewal review. Annual charter evaluations and continuous monitoring conducted by the CSO and charter school leadership take place during years 1 through 4 to determine if the school is on track, culminating in a comprehensive review in year 5. Next slide, please. In October 2024, at the direction of the board office, the Charter Schools Office launched Reimagining School Excellence, or Project RISE, a bold 3-phase initiative designed to re-examine how we evaluate charter school performance in Philadelphia. At the heart of RISE is a simple but essential question. Are the tools we are using to assess charter schools still serving students well? Phase 1 of RISE focused on listening. The CSO engaged with charter school communities, elected officials, education advocates, and other stakeholders to gather diverse perspectives on the framework. Their input helped shape a request for proposals, or an RFP, which drew 8 submissions from potential external partners for Phase 2. Currently, as part of Phase 2, a scoring committee made up of representatives from the district, including the board office, the charter schools office, the Office of Research and Evaluation, Office of DEI, Office of Strategy, and an assistant superintendent are conducting interviews with the applicants. The next step, committee members will complete detailed scoring rubrics to help select the most qualified partner. The goal is to bring a contract to the board for consideration at the May action meeting. Central to this work is clearly defining and setting parameters around what constitutes a high-quality seat and how that is measured. This reimagined framework will not only guide oversight of charter schools, but also foster a shared understanding of high-quality education across the city. Ideally, this new framework would better position the board to consistently measure performance and ensure all students, regardless of district or charter, have access to the excellent educational opportunities that they deserve. We can move to the next slide, and I will hand it back to President Streeter.
Thank you, Board Member Jones. The board continues to advocate fiercely for our students, both in Harrisburg and on Capitol Hill, ensuring that the voices of Philadelphia's young people are heard where decisions are made. Most recently, I joined Dr. Watlington, our superintendent, and the district's government relations team for a series of meetings with members of Congress in Washington, D.C. We shared stories of our students' academic progress, highlighted the critical role federal funding plays in sustaining that momentum, and called for continued investment in public education, especially for high-needs urban districts like our great city of Philadelphia. In addition to direct advocacy, the board has also passed a formal resolution opposing proposed federal education funding cuts that would significantly impact services to low-income students, English language learners, and students with disabilities. We're urging our community to get involved, write your representatives, raise your voices, and stand with us in demanding the resources our children need and so deserve. Additionally, while in D.C., I attended the Council of the Great City School Legislative Conference along with Board Member Joyce Wilkerson, Dr. Watlington, and members of the board and district teams. During this convening, the board gained insight into how other large school districts are navigating the political landscape as it relates to education and how they are addressing student needs. While the information presented and insights from other school districts reminded us of the challenges and opportunities in public education today, board members were encouraged to hear repeatedly that our school district Our school district has become a model for student achievement, one that districts across the country aspire to emulate. I would also like to recognize Board Member Wilkerson, our representative to the Board of Directors of the Council, who has been an indispensable connector between the Council of the Great City Schools and the City of Philadelphia and the Council's nationwide strategy as it relates to advocacy on this topic. We are better for it. We're all better for it. Please move to the next slide. The board recognizes that student achievement does not occur without providing students with the necessary conditions to succeed. That is why one of our guardrails is to make every school a safe and welcoming place where our students, staff, and community want to be and learn each day. Next slide, please. As a reminder, to support this guardrail, at the September action meeting, the board adopted a resolution formally directing Dr. Watlington to complete phase 8 of the facilities plan by engaging community stakeholders in a robust process. As we passed that resolution unanimously, we handed the baton to the district. They have been doing the work, and then they will hand the baton back to the Board of Education to continue moving this work forward. You will hear more from the district during their presentation, but I will say that we are on track. Please move to the next slide. The board is currently in the midst of the budget process. Next slide, please. This includes the adoption of the lump sum budget, which occurred during the March action meeting, a budget hearing held last week, today's hearing, and the adoption of the operating and capital budgets scheduled for the May action meeting. Again, the district will provide a more comprehensive update on the budget. Next slide, please. So with that, I thank you for hearing me and my fellow board members, and we look forward to answering any questions that you may have, and I believe Dr. Watlington will go right into his presentation, unless the President see otherwise. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, good morning, rather. It's not afternoon yet. I do want to thank you for the opportunity to join President Streeter, Vice President Andrews, and members of the Board of Education.
And just state your name for the record, please.
Tony Watlington, Sr. Thank you. Council President, Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, Council Whip Thomas, and Education Chair Thomas, Majority Leader, Minority Leader Brooks, and Minority Leader O'Rourke. Good morning. On the next slide, I want to just highlight for you, I have 7 fairly brief updates, Mr. President, and they're outlined here. Today, we'll certainly want to thank the council for your support of the district, and we'll get into the district results. I'll provide you with a brief update on the initiatives that Mayor Parker referenced earlier. We'll share with you the priorities that are driving the district in school year 24-25, and we'll continue those in school year 25-26. Then we'll get straight into an overview of the budget development for fiscal year 25-26. And as President Streeter said, we'll share a bit more details about the facilities master plan pursuant to the board's resolution in September, directing the staff and myself to get this wrapped up by December. And then we'll certainly thank you and be happy to receive any feedback or questions. Slide, please. Before I go forward, I just want to say a very special thank you to City Council and Council President. You'll see in that picture in the center, you're all over the place, and you as well as other council members, and we very much appreciate the active support. It sends a very visible message to our young people that the City Council is on their side and rooting for them. I would like to take a moment just to ask members of the School District of Philadelphia team who are here to please stand and be recognized. I'll start with Dr. Jermaine Dawson, Deputy Superintendent of Academics. Deputy Superintendent Colonel Oz Hill, Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Chief of Staff Sarah Galbally, Chief of Communications and Customer Service Alex Coppage, Chief Financial Officer Mike Herbstman, Chief of Evaluation, Research, and Accountability, and she insists that you say it just like that, Dr. Tanya Wolford, Deputy Chief Edwin Santana, and someone you see very regularly, Director Laura Garback. Good morning. Please give them a round of applause. They work really hard. Thank you.
Dr. Wallington, yeah, I do just want to go on the record also to acknowledging Edwin Santana and Laura. Edwin will respond to my text messages, whether it's in the morning, late at night, Sunday. I know he got a family like, dude, what you doing? But I do thank him just for being responsive and being patient, as well as when I'm looking for different data and so forth, and I'm reaching out to Laura as well. Just want to acknowledge you publicly.
Well said. Thank you, sir. Slide, please. I'm going to get straight into the district results. Slide, please. I want to report that, again, I want to say when lots of people work together under the leadership of the Board of Education, relative to the board's goals and guardrails, as I believe Vice President Andrews said, we are making significant progress. And so we want to thank the council and our full community for the team effort. Slide, please. In terms of the outcomes that we're receiving, as in large part because of the board's goals and guardrails and focusing on student achievement and council and mayoral support, we're pleased to report that our student enrollment increased this year for the first time in a decade by 1,841 students. The number of students who are coming to school 90% of the year has increased by more than 3,500 students over the past couple of years. Third grade reading performance is up. Third through eighth grade math performance is up, as well as third grade math performance by 5 to 6.5 percentage points. The percentage of our students who are passing the Career Technical Education Career Readiness Test, called the NOCTI test, has increased by 13.6 percentage points. Our graduation rate is up, and the dropout numbers are down significantly, as the mayor mentioned. We're really pleased with that. Slide, please. I also want to note that every 2 years, the nation's report card comes out, and there are 4 tests given by this was established in 1969 by Congress. Basically, there's a subset of kids across children and young people across the United States in all 50 states, and 26 what we call NAEP tutor districts. We're one of those districts. But fourth grade reading, fourth grade math, eighth grade reading, eighth grade math. It's the only test in the United States that's consistent across all 50 states. And when the data came in earlier this year, our fourth grade students achieved a 7-point increase in our performance on this national normed fourth grade math test. It's important because the children in Philadelphia outpaced the national public school average. Our children in Philadelphia their improvement outpaced the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania average, and it outpaced all but 4 other big cities in the United States as a part of the NAEP tutor district, so we're really pleased with our young people. Next slide. I also want to provide an update on the initiatives that Mayor Parker referenced. Slide, please. I want to thank the mayor for her vision around extended day, extended year schooling. As the mayor noted, this year we have 20 district-operated extended day, extended year pilot schools, joined by 5 charter pilot schools, and next year we'll be increasing that number by an additional 10 in the district and an additional 5 in the charter sector. The programming and the enrichment is free. Support's available as early as 7:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. And there are thousands of kids who are getting the opportunity to experience everything from intramural sports to chess to dance and lots of other great things. Now let's talk about what the results look like so far with our extended day, extended year performance. We have 6 goal measures to evaluate how the extended day, extended year goal measures are working. So far, we've noticed that 38% of the before school slots are filled, and 81% of our after-school seats are filled. Clearly, in year 1, there's been a stronger demand for the after-school than before school. We're working closely with the mayor's education staff and Dr. Carrera and others to make the morning options well known for our parents, and we anticipate to get more participation in the mornings next year. 75% of the pilot schools are offering intramural sports. 100% of the pilot schools are offering enrichment programming, some exciting enrichment programming. And 80% in the school district of Philadelphia, we're pushing hard, Council President and council members, to get our kids to come to school 90% of the school year. Because part of what hurts our achievement over the past decade is our kids just don't come to school at the same level as the average for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, although that's increasing. Pleased to report that 80% of the students who are enrolled in extended day or extended year schooling are coming to school 90% of the school year so far. So the average 90% attendance rate is 65%. So 65% of our students this year are in school 90% of every month. As compared to the students in extended day, extended year, they are coming 80%. So this is a good trend to see, and we're really pleased with that. The last two items, we will have data at the end of the year relative to the percent of students reporting a sense of belonging and the percent of parents and caregivers who report satisfaction. We'll have a survey at the end of the year, and then we'll get that feedback. Slide, please. I also want to note, the mayor talked about CCME, the City College for Municipal Employment. We're pleased to be partners with the Community College of Philadelphia. The long story short, this provides a free workforce training program and a pathway to employment right here in the city of Philadelphia. And at present, we have 30 high school students who are enrolled and representing 5 high schools. And under Dr. Dawson's leadership, we will continue to grow those numbers next year. Slide, please. Also like to share with council our priorities that are driving our budgetary expenditures, and our CFO, Mike Herbstman, and the strategy office that reports to our chief of staff, Sarah Galbally, works hard to make sure that all of our expenditures are aligned to our priorities, and there's a high bar for how we spend resources in the district. 3 broad areas that we are focusing on and that we are aligning all of our budgets to: state funding, local funding, and federal funding. First priority is accelerating academic achievement. The second is improving customer service. And the third is to partner with our families as equal partners, as Mayor Parker mentioned earlier. So on the next slide, how are we doing with accelerating academic achievement? You've seen this slide before. Just want to put it back up and say we're doubling down to drive even better and faster improvement in these same areas. I do want to note that you see a lot of green arrows here, but one area where we've fallen down and we've not hit our mark is algebra. And we look forward to coming back next year and telling the council that we've gotten better at algebra. Next slide. Relative to customer service, how are we doing? Under Chief of Communications and Customer Service, Chief Alex Coppage, we are pleased to announce that according to our Let's Talk system, which is our two-way communication system, if you go to the district website, there's a nice yellow button that says Let's Talk, and anybody can hit it any time of day, 24 hours a day, to report a concern, a complaint, or a commendation, and sometimes people give the districts commendations. What we found is since July 1, from July 1 until April 25th of this year, we've had over 50,000, almost 51,000 messages and concerns, commendations, complaints, et cetera. And we track our response time. Our response time is down to 1.5 days, which is the industry standard. We always want to respond within 24 to 48 hours. And on a scale of 1 to 10, anybody who interacts with the district has an opportunity to fill out a survey, a short survey, and give us a feedback score. Our feedback score to date is an 8.0 out of a 10. And I want to thank Chief Alex Coppage and her communications team for the great work we're doing there. Thank you. Slide, please. The other big priority is around partnering with our families as equal partners. We're doing several things this year. Later, as we get into the summer, we'll be relaunching Parent and Family University. The mayor was correct. Dr. Arlene Ackerman started this initiative years ago, and we've heard such fantastic feedback about it. We figured out how to reallocate some district work resources, and in a budget-neutral manner. I want to be clear that we're not adding any additional dollars to the budget for this. By reorganizing other district resources and pursuing some external resources through the Fund for the School District of Philadelphia, we will relaunch Parent and Family University later this year, Mr. President. We also are launching a Parent and Guardian Superintendent Advisory Council. We're taking a page out of President Streeter's and the board's book where they have a parent council, and we think it's important to emulate that so that we'll get some additional feedback along with the Teacher Advisory Council, the Principal Advisory Council, and the Student Advisory Council. And Chief Coppedge's team are also going to launch a family engagement app so that we can begin to communicate with our families on cell phones this year. Slide, please. Next, I want to provide a budget update. In March, we presented the lump sum budget for fiscal year 25-26, and I'm happy to provide a brief overview. Next slide. First, I want to note that if you go to the district website, you can get a detailed accounting for the district's overall operating budget. Chief Financial Officer Mike Hirschman has done a wonderful job making sure that this is very detailed, well laid out. So if you have any questions about the budget, it's a very open, transparent process. And you can also, on our website, see the school budgets, the district-operated school budgets on the left, and you'll see the consolidated district budget on the right. Just find those two pictures, click on the link, and you can get right into the details. Slide, please. As shared before, we are operating under our aggressive strategic plan entitled Accelerate Philly. There are 5 priority areas. The first is related to ensure safety and well-being of students and staff. And certainly we're doing some work as directed by the board with regard to facility improvements and continue to focus on safety, both school safety, physical and emotional safety, and the like. Area 2 involves building stronger partnerships with our families. And as I shared earlier, we're going to relaunch Parent Family University later this year. We're also going to launch something called Parent Ambassadors, where we're going to connect with some people who normally wouldn't be at the table, but we're going to pay some key parents and key community members a stipend to meet with the district, to help us to connect with families and communities. And they don't have to be degreed, they don't have to have a teaching degree, they don't have to have a certain pedigree. We're just going to be looking for people who have that. There are some people in some communities, and you just know they have this relationships with everybody. They have a different kind of relationship than any teacher, principal, or police officer would ever have. And we want to figure out how to make them a part of the school district team and pay them a stipend for their time to do that. In Area 3, our core business, we're going to continue to drive faster improvement. I'm pleased to announce that last year we launched a new state-of-the-art math curriculum. This year we launched a new state-of-the-art reading curriculum. And next year we are going to launch a new state-of-the-art science curriculum so that all our kids in Philadelphia, regardless of your zip code, have the very best instructional materials. What kids learn in the classrooms matter. This is really important. All of our students now have the same math curriculum that Penn Alexander has had for years. And so we feel like that's going to help us to lower the level the playing field. Area 4 involves recruiting and retaining highly qualified staff in a number of areas. We're really appreciative of the partnerships with the mayor around building the teacher pipeline and working with groups like Sharif El-Mekki in particular. Because we've got to continue to recruit more Black and Latina and Latina males in particular, an area that we are making some progress in. I think we've got about a 2 percentage point increase last time looking at the numbers. And then finally, we want to have focus on efficient and effective operations, how we manage the district in priority area 5. Slide, please. Chief Herbst and I have had an opportunity to share some of this with individual council members, but there are 5 major considerations as we bring forward to President Streeter and his board the budget. 1, we're in the process of negotiating 3 labor contracts with the Teachers Union, PFT, Administrators Union, CASA, and with our School Police Officers Union, SPAP. We're also focused on driving faster and harder improvement in our strategic plan, Accelerate Philly. The third thing you'll see on this slide is that adequate and equitable state funding is an issue. We are very thankful to Governor Shapiro and members of the legislature who provided some additional resources this year for the first time in some years. Very thankful for the mayor and the council for the change in the millage rate by 1 percentage point that would result in up to $230+ million additional dollars in the school district over the next 4 to 5 years. We still have a gap, though, and right now it looks like the Commonwealth is on a 10-year plan to get us to adequate funding based on the recommendations that the bipartisan commission in Harrisburg represented. So we'll say more about that in a moment. Item number 4, I just want to remind the council that the COVID dollars that we got from 2020 to 2024 all went away in September of 2024. We had a shortfall and a deficit before the pandemic. The COVID dollars helped us to get our heads above water and stay steady. We're going to stay steady above water through this year, and next year we'll have some challenges. We'll say more about that in a moment. And number 5, we know there's a lot of uncertainty about what's happening in Washington. As of today, the only district funding that we have definitely lost that we're aware of is a $150,000 grant that was rescinded by federal officials earlier this month. $150,000 grant related to libraries. And as hard as we're working to improve libraries and grow them, that was not a good thing, but to date, that's the only impact. Next slide. You've seen this slide before, council members. The dark blue line shows our revenues, and the lighter blue lines shows our expenditures. You can see that our expenditures will outgrow our revenues over the next 5 years. I want to be very clear. That is happening not because not because of any problem with financial stewardship. In fact, under the Board of Education's leadership, our investment grade credit rating has improved twice, best we've had in 40 years. The credit outlook for the district has been upgraded twice by Moody's and Fitch services. What's driving greater expenditures than revenues? 2 big areas. One, school districts are people-intensive organizations. 80% of our budgets are people and benefits. And so salary increases and benefits and health insurance, et cetera, are driving that, number 1. Number 2, another big driver is the payment, charter school payments. And so it's not inefficiency. The district is very lean and efficient. You'll also see the yellow line that shows our fund balance going down over time. We will get through this year. Our recommendation to the staff's recommendation to President Streeter and the board is to dip into the fund balance this year. The board has been very good stewards of those dollars, and we can afford to do it this year with no cuts, no personnel cuts, no programming cuts, because what we're doing is working in the district. The good stuff is going up, and the bad stuff is going down. After this year, however, we won't have that level of fund balance, and we'll be dependent on some additional resources when we come back next year talking about the budget for fiscal year 26-27. Again, we'll get through this year with no impacts to people and programs that are working. Slide, please. And then finally, President Johnson, I want to give a quick update on the facilities master plan update. As President Streeter mentioned, the board directed me and the staff to get phase 8 of this facilities master plan completed by the close of this year, and we are on schedule to do that. President Streeter and the board also directed that we have a very strong and robust engagement process to get our community involved. On the next slide, just want to note again the problem that we're solving for on the left end of this chart is that we have some old schools approaching nearly 74 to 75 years old. And we've got a problem because we have under-enrolled schools and we have some schools that are just bursting at the seams and not enough room for the children. As a next step, we developed a cross-functional project team that went to work. We put together 9 advisory groups, and we know the mayor has also mentioned her work around some additional advisories to provide the mayor and the board some additional context. And the outcomes we want to drive to are on the right. We want to better utilize our facilities, better use our budgets so that we can schedule schools differently, so that we can support, have the conditions there to improve student achievement, continue to improve student achievement. I want to be clear, new buildings by themselves do not improve student achievement. You can build a Taj Mahal school and not have the right staffing, and you can get worse, not better. It's about creating the conditions and how we use the resources. We can use our resources more efficiently if we don't have very overcrowded schools and then some schools with a very small number of children. So we'll maximize our school buildings. We will be able to, if we do that, when we do this well, we'll be able to have more pre-K opportunities available and where kids need them. We will have more rigorous course offerings in all our schools, that no matter what your zip code is. For example, some of our schools don't have algebra in the middle grades and others do. Well, we have a plan when this process concludes, to put algebra in all of our middle schools and to make sure that all of our high schools have access to advanced placement courses or international baccalaureate courses or dual enrollment opportunities depending on where they're located. Slide, please. As I get almost finished here, I just want to note there are 8 phases to this 8-phase facilities plan. Phase 1 through 7, you'll see green. They are complete. We're in phase 8 now. And if we go to the next slide, I just want to quickly walk you through where we are on the timeline, and I'll be bright, brief, and gone, as they say. Well, maybe not gone, because I'm sure you're going to ask some questions. So this is a timeline of what occurred in the fall, following the board's direction that we get this work completed. And if you go to the next slide, Ms. Garback, this is the slide that shows the work that's happening now through the end of this year. Right now, we're focusing exclusively on testing. While we're in the testing season, we've decided that we are going to put a pause on everything and focus on optimal testing environment. Right after we finish testing, we'll be coming back to the board with next steps in terms of what we're finding in the data now that the data warehouse is complete. But make no worries, we are on schedule to still complete this process and to bring President Streeter and the Board of Education some draft recommendations early to late fall. The board will then go back above the line, and the board will deliberate and make some decisions. I would imagine have some community engagement sessions, and then by December we will be in a place for the Board of Education to make final decisions about what will specifically happen with all of our 300 buildings in the school district. President Johnson, thank you very much. That concludes my remarks, and happy to receive any feedback with President Streeter and answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I do believe, though, if we have more Taj Mahal-like schools for our youth, it won't solve everything, but it does do something to the psyche to be able to go into a high-quality building to receive your education. So as we make some tough decisions on how we right-size, but invest in making sure all young people get a chance to go to a high-quality school building, I think that'll be something beneficial for all of us. I have brief questions, but actually the Chair of Education is going to take the lead during these discussions, and so I just want to get an idea of particularly a school in my district where I received several calls from students, parents, and teachers expressing concerns regarding cuts of 7 full-time teachers at the Kappa School of Creative and Performing Arts. Expressed their concerns. Just want to get an idea of the reasoning for the decisions. Will these decisions be reinstated in the near future? Very high quality, top school. They want to make sure we continue being one of the best schools that produce some of our best and brightest entertainers.
Yes, sir. President Johnson, it's no secret there have been some, there's a new principal who's at Kappa, has been there, I think, year 2, if I'm not mistaken. And several parents were at the last school board meeting and registered some concerns. We're fielding those concerns as we speak, and we're reviewing that staffing. Our intent is to get to the bottom of each of those concerns, and we're going to make sure that Kappa continues to be a pride and joy for the city of Philadelphia. Of course, a fantastic school like Kappa, we never want the enrollment to go down. And because we've got, if there's any city in America that has some talented artists, it's here. And so we'll attend to all those issues.
Okay, thank you. Staffing for teachers, counselors, and food service workers has been improving. However, one area that has declined is the area regarding special education assistance. And so how are we addressing it to make sure that most vulnerable population individuals who may have special needs are having their issues addressed from a resource standpoint?
Yes, sir. Almost every hiring category we've hired at a better rate this year compared to last year, except in the area of some of the special education staff. For speech language pathologists, there's a national shortage. And so there's a big conversation about when you have such a huge shortage, should salaries be higher to drive, supply and demand? The supply is not as high as it needs to be. And I was just on a call yesterday with Dr. Dawson, with members of Dr. Dawson's team in our Human Resources Department with Cheney University's provost. And we were highlighting two of the biggest areas that we need more partnership support on: special education, both teachers and those support staffs, as well as math teachers. Those are two areas that we're just beating the bushes as best we can, but we are experiencing a significant state and national shortage.
And last question, before I turn over to my members. Filled several different emails or concerns regarding, I think I saw some on social media. How are you managing the Jewish-Palestine environment inside the school district? I've saw different teachers deciding to put lawsuits against the school district. I know you can't speak on the lawsuits, sure, but also, people from the Jewish faith feel like they're under duress in terms of certain freedom of speeches, in terms of presentations, curriculums, and so forth in the school district. How are you managing that?
Under the leadership of our Chief of Equity, Dr. Sabria Jubilee, we're doing several things. On the one hand, because we need some additional help in the school district to understand the complexity of the Middle East, very old part of the world, and we want to make sure that our students and also some of our community don't just get their information from social media or other non-historic or ahistoric and not reputable sources. So we partnered with the University of Pennsylvania, Temple University, and a group called Facing History and Ourselves. We meet on a monthly basis, and they're providing professional development for teachers. They're providing professional development for members of our curriculum department in the central office. And under Dr. Jubilee's leadership, they're also fielding some community dialogues so that people who have a lot to say can have a chance to talk about those issues, totally voluntary. Instead of showing up at the board meeting, you can still come to public comment, and the board can hear that.
We know about public comment, so. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll get back in my lane then. We feel like we can help educate folks with those resources.
All right, thank you, sir. I thank you for working in partnership with the leadership of our Chair of Education regarding, what's that room called, Councilmember Thomas? Chairman Thomas, what's the room called? The rubber room? What is it called?
It's called the reassignment room.
The reassignment room.
I've been trained.
The reassignment room. And so we thank you, your leadership, Dr. Wallington, for working in partnership with our Chair of Education and addressing the reassignment room and making sure that that's an issue that we can work in partnership on and alleviating the issues and concerns around that particular issue. So with that being said, the Chair of Education is going to begin kicking off the question session. And so, Chairman Isaiah Thomas, God bless you.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for all of your service. Similar to you, Council President, I just want to take a moment to just do a couple thank yous because we do a lot of work on a consistent basis with the Education Committee, members of council, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, and that's outside of the regular concerns and advocacy. So, of course, Dr. Watlington, your leadership, Board President Streeter, thank you both. To all of the board members that are here, I'd just like to always remind the constituents of Philadelphia that it's a voluntary position. I personally think you should be paid. We can have that conversation about governance later, but your service is definitely appreciated.
Members are paid in other states.
He said board members are paid in other states, so Dr. Watlington, thank you. I also want to say a special thank you to Laurel. She probably hears from me more than anybody and other members of City Council, so thank you for your patience. Dr. Dawson, the work you've done on the academic side, definitely appreciated, and your visibility in the schools definitely appreciated. Similar to Council President Edwin Santana, the great work you're doing, thank you so much. And then to Mike, the CFO, very much appreciate you. You might as well come on up though, Mike, because you know me and you, we're going to do a little dance today and talk about the finances. So definitely looking forward to our conversation, but thank you for everything, Mike, to you and your entire team, especially around the procurement side. At some point, Mike, I definitely want you to talk about what we've done around local procurement for the district, for Philadelphia-based businesses, and how those numbers have grown. And last but not least, Colonel Oz Hill. Dr. Watlington, you know Colonel Oz Hill is one of my favorite people in government, and what he's done as it relates to changing the climate and addressing issues with the district. The council president talked about the reassignment room. We give him a lot of credit for that. I have several questions, but I want to start with the finances. I think that one of the biggest issues that we have in the city of Philadelphia is schools, quality schools. We understand we have issues around facilities. We understand we have looming contracts coming up for different union representation, but none of this can happen if we don't have the money to be able to take care of business. And you talked earlier about the fact that the school board approved stepping into your reserve to be able to get through the operating your operating costs for this year. Mike, can you take a minute to break down to the listening public as well as my colleagues, not just in City Council, but really more important, my colleagues in Harrisburg, so they can understand what type of fiscal cliff is on the horizon for the school district of Philadelphia. And Mike, also, where would we be right now had we not had that reserve? And the reason I want you to explain that, Mike, is because former council member, now Mayor Parker, was a part of the legislative body that made several decisions over the last couple of years anticipating this fiscal cliff being on the horizon. And here we are today. Thank goodness we do have the reserve in place, but help us understand a better picture. We all looked at slide 21, but you know, a lot of us are audio learners and not just visual learners. So please give us the breakdown of where we are financially, the state of the district, and what our vision is to rectify this problem.
Yes, sir. And thank you for the recognition, Councilmember Thomas. To begin with, as we are in the current year, we are already beginning to start to spend in deficit. We project for this year that our deficit spending will be relatively small to future years, but about $35 million. As we move into next year, we see a deficit of just over $300 million, about 306 by our projections, and that will require us to use a lot of that fund balance that has been mentioned that we've been able to build up as we have had federal funding over the last 4 years. In all, that $306 million represents about 40% of our current nearly $800 million fund balance that we were able to build to this point. Getting back to your earlier question, when we were here about 4 years ago, we faced a similar deficit, right around $300 million. That was before COVID-19. And that funding has been able to sustain us in recent years. The $1.8 billion in total that we received in all federal COVID-19 relief funding. That, of course, is no longer available going forward, and we are dependent really on the state and city funding overall to sustain us from this point.
So, Mike, just so people understand, how important is it that we pass Governor Shapiro's budget based on the recommendations he has? And what is the fiscal impact around his recommendation, specifically looking at allocations to cyber charters per pupil.
Yes, so it is critical that this budget is passed at this level. What we already have built into that projection that still shows a $306 million deficit is the governor's budget proposal. So less than that being funded would reduce or would increase our overall deficit even going into next year. For the charter proposal itself, the governor proposed really two things. This is specifically for cyber charters. It is to cap the rate paid for regular education at cyber charters at $8,000 per pupil. That would have an impact of about $70 million overall to the district, and that is also, as the rest of the governor's budget is, built into our current projections. In addition to that $70 million, that is partially offset by what would be ending a grant that provides about $20 million to the district and other school districts around the state for help with supporting cyber charter schools. So it's a net impact of about $50 million.
And Mike, listening to all of this, as far as the fiscal status of the city of Philadelphia, none of this includes the capital deficit that we face. We've only talked about the operating deficit. Can you take about 30 seconds to talk about where we are as it relates to the capital deficit? We listened to you talk about the idea around a plan, but let us know where we are, and listening to both the capital and operating deficits, where will we be in 5 years? Because you do 5-year projections. Where will we be in about 5 years if these looming deficits are not addressed?
So I would say that for the capital side, most of that is separate from the operating budget. The exception to that is our debt service, where we annually pay out of the operating budget, not for capital projects just coming up, but for the last 20 plus years of capital budgets that have been spent. And that equates to about 8% to 9% of our budget right now. We do have a substantial capital backlog, and that, of course, increases each year and is one of the major reasons that the Board of Education has directed the superintendent and team to begin this capital planning process. On the operating budget itself, as we look 5 years out, our deficit does increase each year, and the annual deficit alone in 5 years would be about $774 million.
So in 5 years, if we don't act now, we can be looking at a deficit of over $500 million on the operating side and several billion on the capital side. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Now, Council President, I just wanted to provide context to lay out today's conversation, because it's important that we recognize while we have some things that we've accomplished and some things that we've done well, all of those things can go in the trash if we're not putting up the dollars that we need to make sure that we can keep the lights on to address issues within our facilities and to put us in a position to be able to say we want to stabilize the ship. Now, you have a couple contracts coming up as it relates to union negotiations. Listening to all of this fiscal uncertainty, how are you going to handle the contract negotiations that's coming up with several unions whose contracts are about to expire?
So I think as we look at our collective bargaining agreements and we look at our overall deficits coming up, we know that we need to be focusing our funding on where it matters the most. And Dr. Wellington and the board have repeatedly talked about the major levers that move student achievement, and the top two in those areas are a well-supported, stable teacher over time and a well-supported, stable principal over time. We know that as we look to prioritize very limited funding going forward, that all of our employees are a priority in that area.
Okay, so we got a lot of work to do, because one of the issues that we know that exists, and I could get to this in my second round, is issues around teachers and paid sick leave and how we handling some of that stuff. So we'll get into that a little bit. I want to shift directions, if I can, Council President, in just one more minute. Earlier in the testimony, you talked about, and this is specifically looking at school board related stuff. Earlier in the testimony, you talked about the Project Rise initiative. And we know that Project Rise is something that came out of a number of advocacy-based efforts. Where are we at with Project Rise, and how are we doing as it relates to assuring that there's a transparency, communication, and input from our Black and brown-led institutions?
Yes, and thank you so much for that question. The board understands that the board has heard the community loud and clear. The board has heard you loud and clear, Chairman Thomas, as well. The board created a process through Project Rise on the first part of the process as it relates to engagement from third parties such as charter leaders, advocates, as well to be inclusive of our Black-founded our Black and brown populations as well, and that's going to continue. So the process is designed to continue that through the next part of the process. I'm going to ask the CSO to come up here real quick, Chief Chow, to come up and add some more context, because he's much more in the weeds on this right now than the board is.
Thank you. For the record, Peng Chow, Chief of Charter Schools for the school district. Thank you for the question, Chair Thomas. As the board president mentioned, we are being very deliberate with this process in Project Rise to make sure that we are engaging with the very many stakeholders that you already referenced that were part of the advocacy to help get us here. In the presentation, we referenced an RFP that we are in the middle of right now, and so we are eager to get through the process and have the board take action on our partner for May 2025 and on.
So the school board reversed the decision around laboratory charter as well as Southwest Leadership Academy a little while ago. In the midst of several conversations that we've been a part of, one of the things that we talked about was that when the board decides to make a decision to close an institution, it begins to have impact on staff, students, and parents, and all parties, all stakeholders involved, even before the school is closed. So if you go to appeal or if the decision is changed, the impact from the original decision is lasting. So looking at what happened with those two institutions in collaboration with your vision around Project Rise, how are we supporting those institutions based on a decision that was changed, right? Because those institutions are suffering, they suffered from a decision that we made. They lost teachers, students left the school, they got hit pretty hard. So what are we doing to kind of support those institutions post the reversal of that decision?
Thank you for the question. You are right. These processes are in some ways disruptive to school operations, and so we're mindful of that. I think coming out of both of those situations with the schools that you referenced, we have stronger relationships with both of those school leaders and their boards. We have been supportive of them through the various conditions as a result of the renewals that they did receive from the Board of Education, and so we are in closer contact with them today than prior to those initial actions.
So I'm sure those institutions and folks who represent them are watching right now. Do you think they would say the same thing? Do you think those institutions feel like they're getting the support from the school board and the charter office based on a decision that was made that was beyond their control, that helped, kind of expedite some of the problems that they were already having in the institution? If they were sitting here, do you think that they feel the different level of communication and supports based on some of the goals and objectives that we have through Project Rise?
What I'll say is, all those concerns are definitely understood, and the board hears you. And all I can say is that the Board of Education, and the CSO, we've directed our CSO to improve processes going forward. We're all in the learning environment where we're trying to do better as we go forward, or to address concerns as we go forward. Understanding the board does have a duty under the law to ensure that we go through the renewal process and look at the things we should. We do know that our CSO has improved some improvements in this process, such as increased transparency, streamlined accountability, and targeted supports for charter schools as well. It's also my understanding that the superintendent through the school district also supports charter schools with things such as trauma supports with our CSO, and also supports charter schools as it relates to transportation. And for schools that are in our district operated buildings, we've also tried to be better at, be better partners at ensuring that we can meet charter schools where they are, so we can help improve student achievement and support students.
Thank you. Council President, I'll come back for a second round, but before I close out, I do want to say thank you to the mayor. I did hear the mayor talk about going from 55% of real estate taxes to 58% of real estate taxes going to the district. She's absolutely right. No one had to twist the mayor arm for that. It's something that I'm extremely supportive of, and I listened to her go from 56.5% now and doing it in 2030. And she's right, I'm one of the people who are pushing for us to do it a little sooner than 2030, based on some of the numbers and the information that we heard.
That was about you?
It was about me. It's okay. She was my council person, representative of town. Before I close out, though, Council President, I think it's really important, and I know the members of City Council know this already, but one of the things that we've been advocating for, and I thank all of my colleagues for being supportive, is just safe travels to and from school. That's a big thing. And when Commissioner Bethel was in charge of the Safe Corridor program, we talked a lot about safe travels to and from school. We talked a lot about communication to crossing guards. Actually, hopefully at some point today, someone can give us an update on where we are with communication to crossing guards when emergencies take place. But I just want to offer my condolence and the condolences of the entire legislative body. While we were here today, a man was hit in a wheelchair and unfortunately lost his life in a car accident involving one of our school buses. So I do want to offer my condolences to the victim, all of the people who had to witness that trauma. And I also want to thank my colleagues here in City Council, as well as the mayor's team and the school board and the school district for all of the coordinated effort around safe travel to and from school and constantly being willing to come to the table to think about what do we do to make sure people are safe. It's unfortunate and it's heartbreaking when we get these text messages, whether it's an 11-year-old or a 70-year-old or whoever it is. But I do appreciate the fact that everybody has an appetite to try to rectify what we all agree is a problem. Thank you, Council President. You can tee me up for the second round. Thank you, Dr. Watlington. Thank you, Board President. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Vice Chair of Education, Dr. Anthony Phillips, then Councilman Curtis Jones, and then Councilwoman Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Council President. I too just want to echo the work that the School District of Philadelphia is doing to continue to improve. I've witnessed a lot of your leadership over the past several months, and I feel like improvements are making. So thank you, Board President Streeter, and also Superintendent Watlington. I just want to quickly just go to just a couple of questions, and I'll turn it back to our colleagues. One, anti-bullying is something I brought up in meetings, and I want to thank you all for responding to having a meeting with me about anti-bullying. I just want to learn more about how much funding is allocated in FY26 to comprehensive anti-bullying initiatives, including staff training, student workshops, peer-led support programs, and additionally, what strategies is the district implementing to proactively prevent bullying?
Thank you, sir. I think that the way I'd answer that is there are a number of required trainings that we're doing around harassment, bullying, and discrimination, and they occur through a lot of different funding sources. I think we'd love to take as a homework assignment to put a detailed report back to you, itemizing how that fits in the budget. In terms of what the outcomes are, I can tell you that the training and the support that we're providing is resulting in a modest decrease this year in weapons. There's been a modest decrease in assaults, robberies, thefts, drug and alcohol offenses, and the like. There's also been an uptick in some of the what you would call more like disrespect kind of issues and things of that nature. But I'd like to be able to come back and just put it in writing to you the more detailed report on harassment, bullying, and discrimination, because we are doing required training across all schools.
That would be helpful. And if you can care to share more about the results of Parent University, how many people have attended Parent University, what are some of the outcomes of the Parent University program from this year, and also what is your intentions for the Parent Ambassadors program? I know you mentioned the type of people you want there,
yes,
but what do you want to see from it?
With Parent Family University, we're in a pre-launch phase, and I'll ask Chief of Communications Alex Coppage, if she'll come and say a few specifics about it because she's closest to it. Long story short, her staff and Dr. Dawson's staff have been engaging in community forums across Philadelphia to try to make sure what we think we heard parents say that they want to be parts of Family University are indeed going to be the work that we're doing. And we wanted to make sure that we tie the loop on that so we can go back to President Streeter and the board and say, okay, this is what we thought, this is what we've heard, and this is where we're going. I don't think we've gone back to the board yet, but Chief Coppedge?
Good morning. Just in terms of Parent Family University, we wanted to take an opportunity to reintroduce it to the city. So we had about over 10 different listening sessions that took place across the city to introduce Parent Family University. And then we also introduced what it could look like in the fall, where we introduced 4 key topics. So student attendance and achievement, health and wellness, financial literacy, and adult learning. We're continuing to refine those topics, but we're really trying to find ways to not only engage our families, but bring students along too, that can help them with achievement, but also having a healthier lifestyle, doing more with either civic engagement and financial literacy to help empower our families and their communities. And we look forward to bringing more information to the board before the beginning of next school year.
I look forward to it. Just for the record, 20 seconds, I just think that also want you to consider in this budget aftercare. Not every school in the city of Philadelphia has aftercare, and a lot of families are paying for that out of their pocket. You know, when it peaked from kindergarten through 5th grade, you know, if we could find ways to extend that through the extended day program, maybe get buses, you know, from one school to that extended day population. Not sure how we do that, but I think that's something that's important. And I'm also supportive of, and I mentioned this to your team, about anti-bullying ambassadors, students and parents and staff who could be trained around anti-bullying to notice it, but also to figure out how to report it properly. And they don't necessarily have to be people that you know, that are known as being anti-bullying. They could be secretive, like, you know, but at the same time, I think it's important that we have anti-bullying ambassadors that report cyberbullying, bullying in schools, and so forth. But I do want to mention the aftercare thing in the budget. I think that's really important. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Dr. Anthony Phillips. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jones, then Councilmember Bass.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and welcome back. I want to narrowly focus my questions on the area of public safety. Public safety student to student, public safety student to teacher, public safety parent to administrator or teacher. As you know, we do a roll call every 7 a.m. You've been on that with area schools. And as we try to get our babies to and from school safely in those safe corridor programs, we started to find out that the issue was not just student to student, it was parent coming up showing a type of aggressive love for their children that actually threatened teachers, that actually threatened other students. And I wanted to find out, about that aspect of it, but the second part of this is the vast majority of our young people graduate, go on to live productive lives. A small percentage of those scholars are disruptive. And I wanted to understand how our educators are allowed to safeguard the majority from those minority of students that act out. I was told in one instance that there was an bi-monthly freak out where this young person is going to lose control and start to throw things, and everybody was conditioned to take cover and allow that to work itself out, allow people to isolate that individual, but there was no kind of permanent movement of that individual. And I just don't, I'm not allowed to do that in this body. When I want to freak out, Kathy Gilmore Richardson and Cindy Bass to my back are designed to make sure that I don't violate protocols. How do we do this for our educators?
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. I'll say 3 things. Number 1, it is absolutely unacceptable. We take the position, it is absolutely unacceptable for young people or young adults or grown adults to come into schools and to behave in an unacceptable manner. Chief Craig Johnson and Deputy Superintendent Oshill regularly communicate with Commissioner Bethel and members of his team so that we can, when we need support, we can draw on it quickly without hesitation. Number two, we're explicitly teaching kids how to behave and how to comport themselves in schools, regardless of what they may or may not do outside of schools, and this whole notion of code switching and the like. I will tell you there are times that there are some kids, I'll just shoot you straight, who can be a bit hard to love. We've got and there's some of the kids who need some love the most. Now, for kids who are endangering others because of physical assault and things of that nature, there's one caveat that doesn't get talked about a lot, but the federal law requires that students with a diagnosed disability, we are required by federal guidance to do what's called a manifestation determination. So if Curtis Jones has a diagnosis...
No, it's actually Dr. Phillips.
Dr. Phillips.
Yeah,
Let's
he's
go.
the disruptive one.
Dr. Anthony Phillips has a diagnosed disability. There are some controls where Principal Streeter, Esquire, can't just suspend him out of school 3 days and then 4 days and then 5 days when he comes back. We have to conduct a manifestation determination review by law. And sometimes the behavior is found to be a manifestation of the disability, which requires us to do something other than or different from a suspension. It gives principals a headache. I've been there as a principal 3 times, and you know, I've seen that happen a couple of times myself. And sometimes you'll hear about that, but I do want you to know that we're following the letter and the spirit of the law at the same time. Sometimes it can be a pain in the neck for an administrator.
So to your staff's credit, we are having a meeting with that disciplinary rights and responsibilities group coming up to kind of talk about where are the rights of a student and where are the responsibilities to make sure that the climate is such that the other 98 kids don't get penalized because this individual cannot control themselves or emotions. So I'm gonna stay tuned for that. And we need to get a little more, and I'm gonna end on this, Mr. President, like, you know, it's incredible to me that you, as a parent, may not know your biology, your kid's biology student's name, teacher's name, but you feel that it's okay to come up school and threaten that same teacher because you didn't like the way they talked to your child. I kind of sense that we have to have rights, but there got to be some responsibilities because in that group of educators, you didn't come to school to get a cell phone thrown at you or to come out to the parking lot and be afraid looking over your shoulders. We have to protect the teachers as well because otherwise they'll go find another job.
That is going to be a part of Parent Family University, how we build a much stronger and better and partner relationship in some of our school communities that need some work.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I also just want to add that part of that also is having a teacher climate and administrative climate that also meet people where they at.
Yes, sir.
You in low-income communities, and some of the teachers and some of the administration doesn't come from that type of background. Therefore, that level of interaction sometimes can be one-sided, at least from me talking to constituents, and just, no type of violence or reaction is acceptable under any circumstances, right? But I also recognize as an institution, right, you gotta meet people where they at, because if you're not meeting them where they at and understand the conditions and environments where they coming from, right? And a lot of that this could be tone, right? And just also more listening and not accusatory, right? just based upon the frustration you may have dealing with a little bad behind inside the class all year round, right?
Sure.
Right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, we just having a real frank conversation, but there's a level of sensitivity. So I concur with the council members' experience and remarks, because I have seen folks come up to the school, and I'm like, Commissioner Bethel have told me times where folks will show up and kind of incite the whole riot. Matter of fact, get involved with the fight with the kids against the other kids, right? But there's also this de-escalation methods that can be used, because you're also dealing with a population of individuals in most neighborhoods, low income, emotional intelligence may not be at the level of how we may think as professionals, so to speak. But with that being said, the chair recognizes Councilmember Cindy Bass, then Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young, then my majority leader, Gilmer Richardson. You're raising your hand, sir, but it's not on the screen.
As soon as I came in, it was only me and Kurt here.
Okay, well, it's here now. It's not, I'm just letting you know it's not up there, sir. The chair recognizes
I'm not on there at all?
The chair recognizes Councilmember Cindy Bass. It's still on there now, Member Hardy. It is noted, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How y'all doing? Thank you so much for being here, and I want to start out with a thank you for all the work that's done in the school district for our students. You know, listen, nothing's perfect, and like there's always work to be done, but I do want to take a second and just recognize that, like if it was easy, anybody could do it, and it will be done. So this is not easy work. You have a great team assembled with you, and so I just want to tell you how much I appreciate as a school district parent, how much the work you all do matters, and you know this. But that being said, I do have a few questions for you. And I guess part of my questioning really wants to figure out how to tie parents, families to the parent university concept or programming at the school district, because there's a lot of sort of loose ends, in my opinion at least, and maybe you can help me with some of those. So the first question I have for you is, I was over at TM Pierce last week, and it was a beautiful day outside, and so there were kids, out and about in the neighborhood. It was in, after school hours. And I noticed that the gym at TM Pierce at 22nd, 23rd, and Cambria was empty. There was no activity. There were after-school activities going on. But how, and I hear this all the time, how do we make sure that parents, community groups, leagues have access to school district facilities, especially ones as beautiful as that in the neighborhood? And there's there's construction going on right now at the two neighboring recreation centers, Cecil B. Moore in Councilman Young's district, and Panatti in my district up the street. They're both on 22nd Street, but they're both not able to be used right now. So how do we better coordinate so that the community can use that space?
On the operations side of the house, there's a process where community groups can go through the facilities department. I think it's called Facilitron, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Colonel?
So, and actually, I do know that there's a process, but I guess the ease of the process is what I'm saying, because if you tell me, if I got like my little basketball league in the neighborhood, and you tell me I've got to get insurance for $10,000, like most people aren't able to provide or fit the requirements that the school district lays out, so it just becomes a way to say no as opposed to trying to figure out how to say yes. So I'd like for us to try to figure that out.
We want to be on the side of trying to find a way to say yes.
Yeah.
Because when I go to some of our high schools that have a track, for example, I think it was Roxborough, and was there one day, middle of the day, and saw some community folks just out walking on the track. And, schools are community centers, always have been.
Yes.
And it just makes sense that if I live in a community, I ought to be able to access within reason. Now, there are times where if a community group is going to go into a school and have a formal program, for liability purposes, we have to go through Facilitron to make sure that, we arrange for their building cleaners if some things has to occur to prepare for them or to prepare when they leave, and to make sure that we're dotting the T's and crossing the I's in terms of insurance and safety at the same time. But to get them in school to walk on a track, to use the facility, but we hear that loud and clear. The best way to help us get better is when anyone wants to register a concern or thinks that something's not quite kosher, go to our website and hit that yellow Let's Talk button, because we track every single concern and complaint, and right now we're responding within 2 days.
Okay, so I'm going to encourage anyone listening who wants to access school district facilities to reach out online, or if you don't have access online, to reach out to our offices in council so that they can find a line of communication to try to make things happen, because it doesn't make sense, especially as we go into warmer months, summer months, you know, times when the schools are closed. And, you know, again, we've got these great facilities. There's nothing else in the neighborhood, and they're not accessible. So anything we can do around that would be fantastic. Also, I know you know, this time is moving really quickly. I wanted to talk really briefly about principals. And we did get a list of principals that you all were searching for, none of which were in my district. But going back to T.M. Pierce, they're without a permanent principal. I know the retired last principal has decided to, or agreed to come back and act as an interim principal. But we have this, you know, great new facility without the vision and leadership of a new principal at its helm. And so, you know, I just wondered if you could talk about that and the fact that there's no computer teacher at the site as well.
Yes, our intent is to, not later than July 1, have a new permanent principal at T.M. Pierce. By the way, T.M. Pierce is one of the extended year pilots that the mayor referenced earlier today, the 20 current pilots.
Okay.
Just FYI.
I would really like to see if it's extended day, in my mind, means extended programming, and means more kids in the building, and not, you know, like a big, beautiful gym closed off and empty on a day when there's tons of kids playing outside.
We'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Okay. I'll come back on the next round.
Thank you, Member Bass. Chair recognizes Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young, then Councilman Kathy Gilmore Richardson, then Councilman Jim Harity.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon to you, Dr. Wallington, and President Streeter, Board President Streeter. Sorry about that.
Member Young, could you speak into the mic, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I noticed that on the presentation, you know, it was good to see that the numbers are going up, you know, in proficiency and things like that for the district overall. But I just wanted to point out some numbers of schools in my council district, because there was a constituent here from Strawberry Mansion. He just left, Mr. Calvin, but I just wanted to point it out. So in Blaine, at Blaine School, third grade reading and math, 0% proficiency. Richard Wright, 0% proficiency in math, 11% reading. Gideon, 0% proficiency in math, 5% reading. Meade, 0% proficient in math, 4.8 reading. Hartranft, 0% proficiency in math, 18% reading. And you know, these are all elementary schools in my council district, right? These are my constituents. In third grade, they do not know math. And so given these numbers, and just to show that, you know, all these schools are economically disadvantaged, there are only 5 schools that are classified as economically disadvantaged that have at least a 20% proficiency rate in both math and reading. And so given these numbers, what is the school district's plan to, I guess, increase these rates? Like, how do you increase these outcomes, given your, you know, budget shortfalls and things like that? How do we increase the outcomes of these third graders in North Philadelphia?
Just want to, is this on? Okay, just Councilmember, just briefly, as far as from the board's perspective, goals and guardrails is that answer. And I'll just give you an example of how we are seeing movement, even though there might be 0% proficiency at certain schools. We monitor third grade math, 3 through 8 math, reading, and science. And what we're seeing is, you may not see right now the proficiency numbers go up, but we're seeing students who are right below that tier, right? So like at basic, so there's 3 tiers. There's proficiency, there's basic, and there's below basic, right? And then there's advanced. Those are the 4 tiers. We're seeing more students move from the bucket of zero proficiency, actual zero proficiency, which is below basic to basic. So while you might not see right now the data on the proficiency side go to be what we want it to be, we do feel like at some point the dam is going to break and more students are going to spill over from the cup of basic to proficiency. So I think our children are learning something, but I hear you. We want them to be proficient so they can grow up to be lawyers like you and I. So we understand your question, and Dr. Wallace is going to go into the weeds now of like what the district's going to do as it relates to the strategy.
In just 1 minute, I want to echo what Board President Streeter said. You know, I'm a runner, and let's just say you give me a test, and you say, now, Tony, you've got a PR, so we want you to run your 5K in 22 minutes or less. And at the beginning of my training, I'm running that 5K at 35 minutes. I get it down to 30 minutes, 28 minutes. And on the day of the test, I get my 5K, I run it in 24 minutes and 30 seconds. But my goal was to hit 23 minutes. And if the mark is either you met it or you didn't, you could say, well, Tony failed the test. You know, he didn't make improvement. He didn't get to the cut score. He didn't get to his PR on the 5K, even though I've reduced my time by 10 minutes. It's the same point President Streeter's making. There are children who don't hit the cut score, but you can track and see significant improvement they've made in their scale score. Get it? They start here, they get close to the bar, they don't cross the bar. But to be able to go to law school, medical school, graduate professional school, good paying jobs, all that's irrelevant at some point because we need kids to be proficient. There are 3 key things. I don't care how much money you have or don't have, there are 3 key things that we know now from the research. Number one, the number one most important factor, particularly when you concentrate a lot of really poor kids in hyper-segregated areas, the number one thing we can do, it ain't switch out the parents, is number one is always, you've got to saturate the school with highly qualified, well-supported, stable teachers. The poorer schools are, the more likely, for whatever reason, the turnover rate is higher. And so when we interview and hire people, we try to match people who have a disposition and who have the experience and who have moved the needle somewhere else. But if I've got a big, huge choice of 50 places to work, not everybody raises their hand and say, I want to go where the work is hardest and where the kids need the most. I might go there and work for, you know, a year or two until I can make a few car payments until the job opens at an easier place, even if it's outside in the suburbs. And so that's why it's so important that we've got to recruit and support and wrap our arms around teachers, because if you badmouth them and you just say they're terrible, they don't feel like staying. And so we've got to support them. That's number one. The research says the number 2 factor isn't technology. And believe it or not, it's not AI, although AI is important now and can be used really well, is a highly qualified, stable, well-supported principal. And the third thing is what kids learn matters. And that's why we launched state-of-the-art, green-rated curriculum in math, reading, and science. But what keeps up at night is those schools that have 0 to very low proficiency, and I can assure you we will get better.
And I hear that, Dr. Wallington, and I think, so from the 3 things you mentioned, you are implementing the third one, which is the curriculum, but can you talk to us about what are you doing to support teachers, and better principals, right? The first 2 things that are necessary to bring up these scores for our students.
Brief response, sir.
Brief response, long story short, what the mayor said about the city support in recruiting teachers is so important because the percentage of teachers coming out of Pennsylvania's universities is down by 71%, whether it's a public or private university. And so we've got a lot of emergency licensed teachers that don't have the background in a teacher education prep, so we have to give them more professional development, more support, and it takes time.
Thank you. I'll come back around to Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson. Jim Member Harity, and Councilman Jamie Gauthier.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Council President. And thank you, Dr. Watlington, and congratulations again on your recognition. I had a national call Sunday night with elected officials across the country, including Congresswomen Kamlager, Dove, and Tlaib. And we had another member of Zeta who is a part of the Great Schools Conference that you all attended, and she mentioned both you and Board President Streeter and members of the board. And so I just wanted to congratulate you again. And to Dr. Dawson, thank you for always answering the call and for following up and following through. Of course, to Santana, we appreciate you. I saw him somewhere here. And Laurel, we couldn't do this work without your steadfast leadership and ability to help us navigate the School District of Philadelphia based on your experience here in council. I have to also give a shout out to Michelle Armstrong, Principal Argro at Girls High, Principal Lon at Mastbaum, Jonathan Jacobs, who's a teacher and working to stand up the police science CTE program that we've been working on for like 3 years at this point. And then, of course, give a shout out to President Steinberg at the PFT. I have several issues that I'd like to get on the record today, but you know that I took the time to go through the spotlights for each of the school years. And I just want to start on this issue, and obviously Councilmember Bass has already put on the record the schools in her district. But when I went through this spotlight and I saw the Philadelphia High School for Girls, you know that I was going to really focus in on Girls High based on all the in-depth work that we've been doing there over the past several years. And I will say that Principal Argro, I think, is doing an excellent job at Girls High. I watched via social media on how many schools she visited, how many middle schools she visited to increase the enrollment at the Philadelphia High School for Girls. I've personally been there twice already in the last several months even. And I see that their FY 25 enrollment states 596. The FY 26 projected enrollment is 603. And budgeted for the same amount of principals from FY 24, 25, and 26. Add one assistant principal from FY 25 to 26. But this is where I have concern, and I want to put this on the record because I need you to know early that I have consternation regarding this matter. Teachers for general education for FY 24 was 39.5. For FY 25, it was 36.6. And for FY 26 proposed is 31.6. So even in all the work that we've been doing to help increase the enrollment at Girls High, and I give all the credit to Principal Argro and to our dedicated alumni and of course the teachers and the staff at Girls High, I need you all to explain to me why they're receiving a decrease of 5 teachers in the general education category and a decrease of 1 teacher in the special education category, and a decrease of a student climate staff by 1, which would total 7 positions that the Philadelphia High School for Girls would lose from FY 25 to the projected FY 26. And I am going to come back on the second round, but I don't mind using all of my time in this first round for my beloved alma mater, the reason why I'm a member of Philadelphia City Council.
I'm sorry.
That is of grave concern to me, and I thought that we were holding Girls High harmless based on the conversations that we've had over the last 2 budget cycles, while they have an opportunity to rebuild and increase the enrollment, which they have been doing.
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. I think you're absolutely right. We held the Philadelphia High Schools for Girls harmless last year. We were banking on a strategy of Principal Argro being able to get out there and beat the bushes and to, recruit. I know she's been all over this city recruiting. I follow her on social media, as a matter of fact. And if you'll give us an opportunity to go back and review that information, my sense is, I don't have the data in front of me, but I think that's old information. I'm happy to, on the record, follow up in writing about where we stand with the Philadelphia High School for Girls. I have every confidence that that school is not just going to, not only will grow the enrollment, but will exceed the targets that we've set for the school under Principal Argrove's leadership, just how much confidence I have in her. So may we follow up on the record?
Please, please, and I did hear the bell, and I want to honor the clock, and I am going to come back and start here in the second round, but I cannot support a budget that showcases a decrease to this, effect for the Philadelphia High School for Girls. They would be down 6 teachers year over year, and then 1 climate staff person year over year. And I'm sure, there's a bunch of changes for a number of other schools, right? And I've reviewed them all. But I'm very concerned about what's happening at Girls High. And the only way that I can be supportive of this school district budget is if Girls High is kept whole. And I want to be clear about that from the beginning of this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader Councilman Jamie Gauthier, Councilman Jim Hardy, then Councilman Dr. Nina Mott, then Rue Landau. Actually,
Oh,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
thought there might have been someone before me.
Hardy, Gauthier, Dr. Mott, then I'm sorry, it's Nicholas O'Rourke after that. Sorry.
Yeah, I apologize too. My thing doesn't seem to like me. It acts up every
Hey,
once
man,
in a
you a
while.
laborer, you gotta figure it out.
Yeah, I know.
Man,
You know how
them union
how
guys,
laborers
man.
figure it out? We throw them against the wall, Use
His
the
button
shovel on it.
keep getting stuck, so they're gonna be down here picketing us.
I think it's my guy on the switchboard. He don't like me. I don't know. I got peace, brother.
Thank you,
Don't
Member
bring up
Hardy.
for you over there. No, seriously, and it wasn't that deep. I only have a few questions. As usual, my concerns are on the mental health of our children. Still trying to figure out what we're doing to provide these services, not only when trauma happens, but, I just feel that if a kid that's going through something is able to talk to somebody in person, not just on the internet, that it's kind of, I get it, anything helps, but nothing beats that personal contact with a mental health person. And last time you guys were in, I read the numbers out from the study. I don't remember it offhand, but it was really awakening to actually see numbers of the mental health of our children in our school system and how they were feeling and how many kids were suffering from some form of depression or who had actually thought about suicide. I just want to make sure that we're doing enough because, I see firsthand every day in the neighborhood I live in the trauma that our kids see every day. So just want to know how we're doing with staffing for the mental health workers or therapists or whatever we're doing inside the actual schools for these kids.
Since I know Council President's going to say be brief, I'm going to yield my 1 minute to Dr. Jermaine Dawson, Deputy Superintendent. He just did a fantastic presentation. He and Dr. Jamie Banks, our Chief of Student Support Services, summarizing the need and the specific aggressive actions he and his staff are taking. So Dr. Dawson, could you say a word about that?
Sure. Good morning, Jermaine Dawson. To answer your question quickly, number one, we do have counselors that support in all of our schools. Secondary to that, we have a STEP program that supports mental health and supports for our students in a number of our schools where we're seeing that there is an increased desire and need to support our students. And then a third tier of that is now we have mental health supports called Hazel Health that is supporting in a number of our schools where we're looking to increase to support support. So we have it at different tiers of support, from the counselor as the first level with the teacher, then to the STEP program, which is those who have recommendations, who need some additional support, can go to some of those managers and support to get that help. And then in some of our schools, for that high level or tertiary support, we now are implementing a national program called Hazel Health to support those students.
So you're saying we're fully staffed on counselors in every school?
We have counselor supports in all of our schools.
That's not what you have counselor supports, or you have counselors in every school? There's a difference there.
Yes, we do have counselors that support in all of our schools, yes.
In all of our schools?
Yes.
Is that me, or that's what I'm asking is, not that supports every school. I get that. Is there a counselor in every school?
Yes, there is a counselor in every school, and maybe in some cases where a counselor position may be vacant, but yes, we do have counselor supports for all of our schools.
Point of information, the chair recognizes Councilmember Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of information. How many school counselors do we employ?
We employ over, I have to get that number to you, but it's over 200 counselors that are
So
in
we
our schools.
employ over 200 counselors, and
Yes.
how many schools do we have?
We have over 300 schools.
Bingo.
Okay, so we don't have exactly the number of counselors per school. So some counselors are sort of, doing double duty, it sounds like.
Yes, some are. So
Okay.
yes, all the schools do have counseling support. Some of them
So
may support.
they all have counselor support,
Yes.
but I think what Councilmember Harity was asking is there a counselor on site at every school every day? And the answer to that is
It's
probably no.
No, because
Okay,
they do
that's-
share and support in other schools as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is to have a detailed breakdown of counseling positions.
Can't hear you, please. Speak into the mic.
We'll prepare a detailed breakdown of the counseling positions, as well as any vacant positions in the district at present.
That's great. If you could also just throw in everybody for me, teachers, support staff, counselors. Let's see where we're at. Okay?
Certainly will.
And it's not, I get it. We don't have employees either. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to get some real numbers to figure out, like, what are we doing and what can we do to help, whether it's advertising. I mean, we got to start thinking outside the box. This is our kids. This is our future, for sure.
In April of 2024, Councilmember Harity, my best reference says that we had 393 counselors and a fill rate of 95.9%. Fast forward 1 year later, April of this year, 420 counselors and a 98.1% fill rate. So we increased from a 95.9% fill rate in April 2024 to a 98.1% fill rate, which is a 2.2 percentage point increase and an increase of 27 counselors. And to Dr. Dawson's point, that's not 100% because some positions apparently are vacant at the moment, but 98% of those positions are filled to the tune of 420 counselors.
Okay, I just got confused even more because that was two different sets of numbers. He said there were 300 and some schools with 200 and some
We have
counselors,
200
and you just said 393 counselors at 95%, and then 420 now at 98.1%.
There are approximately 250 district-operated schools. There are a few that are programs, programs versus having an official school charter. Anyway, long story short, we'll put this in writing so it's very clear.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome, Member Harity. Councilman Jamie Gauthier, Councilman Dr. Nina Mai, Nicholas O'Rourke, and then Rue Landau, and they will officially be in our second round.
Thank you, Council President. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here. I want to start by commending both of you Every time I hear about the progress that is being made on many, many fronts and about the national recognition that we're receiving, it makes me feel inspired and proud, and it's due to your leadership and the efforts of your team. So I wanted to thank you for that. And also wanted to give a shout out, like my colleagues, to Laurel, because she's amazing, and make sure that we get our questions answered and get what we need here in council. I do have some questions about threats to our city and school district from ICE, given the large population of immigrants in my district and across the city. And I want to get my questions on record before you answer. We all know that under the current administration, ICE has been targeting our immigrant communities with new vigor, and our children are the most vulnerable if their parent or guardian is arrested or if ICE comes on campus. So a few questions. What do you train school staff to do in the event of an ICE interaction? What exactly does your training consist of, and is it virtual or in person? How long is the training, and how frequently are staff required to take the training? And next, I have a question about family preparedness plans. Family preparedness plans, which set up a contingency plan for loved ones, dependents, and personal property, are critical for families who face a risk of targeting or detention by ICE. What efforts has the district made to communicate the importance of creating a family preparedness plan in the event someone in the family is detained? What efforts beyond posting a link on your website has the district made to disseminate plan templates and make sure all families have access? And what guidance has been given to school counselors to help them support families who may be under additional strain in this moment?
I just want to start out first to speak for the board, that the board has policies in place, a resolution in place, and I'm proud to say we're one of the school districts that didn't need the current actions from the federal administration to have those. These predated that, so I'm very proud of our city and our school board for putting those into place. And our expectation is that the superintendent and our superintendent and the school district will implement those policies with fidelity. But we do understand that our commitment to our values and success of every student in Philadelphia is paramount. Regardless of shifts in the federal landscape, Councilmember Gaultier, the board will continue to uphold those policies. I don't see this board doing the moonwalk so easily as it relates to our safety, academic achievement, and obviously the values that you upraised. So we do have a resolution around safe and welcoming schools that I think touches and concerns this, that directs the superintendent to do certain things, and I'm going to ask the superintendent to follow up with that response.
Absolutely. I'll just piggyback on the board president. The board had clear guidance in policy, codified in its resolution as early as, I believe, 2021. And second, we've had multiple trainings, at least 3, for school leaders to include principals and key other members of their leadership teams, with me present and with Dr. Dawson present, and with the Chief of Special Education and Diverse Learners playing an important role, Dr. Nathalie Naray. Third, and as a part of that training, all of our schools have been well coached on how, if there's any issue whatsoever, any visit, we've had none of those visits to date, but should they occur, that they are to immediately contact the Office of General Counsel, the school district's attorney's office, and they have clear guidance about the next steps. Number 3, in addition to that, we develop an online training for everybody who works in a school and required everybody, including myself, to take that training. It takes about 30 minutes if you're pretty good on a computer. If you're not, it might take you a little bit longer. And then finally, we also created a website of community resources so that we can not bear all the brunt of this, but can partner with community organizations that do everything from helping parents know their rights, knowing how to understand these events and how to protect their children. And we've made the schools available for any of these SAD groups who want to use them for trainings and parent and community support.
Super quick follow-up, Council President?
Very briefly.
Okay. When was your last training for your staff on this? When is your next training? And do you feel compelled to do something more on family preparedness than put something on your website?
I think that, I don't remember the date of the last staff. The trainings, in-person trainings have been with the school administrators. Not, I want to be really clear, school staffs, we've not done in-person trainings with 19,000 employees because the 19,000 employees would not be the people who would be responsible for facilitating any kind of visit from any kind of federal entity. We focused on school administrators because we expect them to be the point of contact, and we want teachers to be in the classroom teaching, going on with their core business. But because this is so important, we wanted everybody to know their roles. That's an online training for staff, in person 3 for principals and school leaders. And I can follow up and get you the date of the last training. I was there, I just don't remember the date. And we can never do enough. We should, yes, continue to be diligent in this area, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Nina Ahmad.
Thank you, Council President.
Councilmember O'Rourke, and then Councilman Rue Landau. Then we're officially in our second round.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you to all of you for giving us an update. Just to echo what my colleague Jamie Gauthier said, it is really heartwarming to see the progress. However, the devil is in the details, and I wanted to ask a question particularly about the 3 things you mentioned for success: teachers, supporting teachers, qualified principals, and the curriculum, and how that is reflected in that facilities plan that you beautifully laid out in terms of making progress in those goals. I appreciate the fact that you said just doing a facilities upgrade is not enough to turn a school around in terms of proficiency. So on page 23, you have the facilities planning program process, and I would like to know those 3 things you mentioned, how that is fed into this plan, that after improving the actual physical facilities, how these other things are rolled into it, including the 3 things that make a school successful for students.
Councilmember Dr. Ahmad, I just want to start off by saying that's an excellent and amazing question, and I think that ties right into the board's theory of change that we decided to do as it relates to this facility planning process. This facility planning process isn't something that is done in isolation. It is based upon 7 other steps and phases that seeks to direct and drive the superintendent to not just close schools or repurpose schools or reimagine schools or this, that, and the other, or different grade bands for grade band's sake. It's so that we don't do what we did before when we had to reimagine our facilities, where the children, from my understanding, based upon a University of Pennsylvania study, the children who were relocated actually didn't improve in their student achievement, actually declined, and actually the schools that received those children actually declined in their student achievement as well. So I think that alone has driven the Board of Education to think differently about the facilities and to ensure that we think about the academic programming. That's why Goals and Guardrails, Accelerate Philly are the foundations of what the superintendent and the team and the project team are looking at to ensure it's not just about a facility, it's also ensuring that the facility is aligned with a world-class education and that the conditions inside the building can exist, and with the help of City Council, the conditions outside of the building can exist for students to achieve as well. So, and that's, some people were saying, well, why didn't the board just trigger a facilities planning process and just kind of do it quickly? Because we understood you got to go slow to go fast. And the one thing we did learn from the harsh reality of last time we had to think about our facilities is the student achievement actually got worse. Dr. Wellington.
Well said. I'll just take 20 seconds just to say that I don't want to overstate this, Dr. Ahmad, Councilmember Ahmad, but certainly a school where the heat works in the winter, where the air conditioning works in the summer months, where there's not raining in the classroom, where the toilets work well, and where it's aesthetically pleasing with appropriate light and a functioning gymnasium and maybe some outdoor areas that kids can benefit from, they can have a positive impact on teacher and leader retention. However, I don't want to overstate that. It can have a positive impact on how kids think about themselves and the extent to which they matter, the extent to which they believe their community cares about them. But even in old buildings, and it's one of the reasons why if you go to some of the non-industrialized world where people don't always have the best amenities and sometimes outscore our young people, when you look at these international tests, that's one way to think about it. Thank you.
Yes, so I come from a place like that, where facilities did not determine the outcome. And so that's why I wanted to understand what is the approach that the school district is doing while it's making all these improvements, and how are we measuring that? Like, you've fixed the place, you've got all the facilities running. Have you looked at all the other variables that would make student achievement improve? And are you grading yourself on it from the time that you had this new school, the school upgraded? So I just wanted to kind of tie it all in to see we need a report card on what it actually looks like to have proficiency go up while we're taking care of all these variables that produce that.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll reserve my question for the second round.
Thank you. I just had a real brief question. So for the district as a whole, what is the theme of the culture of the district as a whole? Give you an example. When I go to Mass Street Charter School, right, when I walk inside the school, their culture is around going to college, right? So in some classrooms over top, you see Morehouse, you see Spelman, you see Hampton, you see Temple. I'm first generation college graduate, right? Dad is a laborer, mom a homemaker. And so I was introduced to the thought process of going to college through my career counselor, Ms. Consortium at Edward Bach High School, right? What is the culture of academic achievement? Because yes, I know I talked about what you just said. Even if you make a Taj Mahal, that still doesn't mean that you're going to have academic achievement, right? I do believe that it still makes a young person feel loved and supported when you walk into a school and you don't have a classroom closed because it's asbestos, right? You're shifting from one school to another school. That's why we always compare ourselves as young people growing up in Philly to schools in like Lower Merion. But I also recognize, particularly in the African-American culture, our best and brightest, right, leaders of the world, right, and our most thought-provoking contributors have come from a time where we pretty much didn't have smart boards. We pretty much didn't have laptops, right? So you had the Mary McLeod Bethune. You had the Charles Drew, right? All them individuals that we all know about or contributed, particularly the African-American community, didn't come from well-financed backgrounds in terms of when it comes to education. But I did want to get an idea. One of the most powerful things that we can do that's more than money is believe in the child when they walk inside the school and have a level of high expectations that they can do anything. Just want to get an idea, what is the district theme, just in general, for every school across the board?
Council President, I wanted to lead off here. I think that's another great, amazing question. Understanding that one of our, I think you and I share, Dr. Jawanza Kanjufu, who passed away this year, this week became an ancestor as well, from my understanding. But I think for the Board of Education, and I just want to speak to every student under our jurisdiction, our vision is very inclusive, right? It is to prepare students to imagine and realize any future they desire, right? So I think what we're not interested in doing is allocating resources that make, and putting forth an educational experience that directs a student into one place in America, into society versus another, but to give them all the tools they need. And that's where the goals and guardrails come in, right? It's about math, it is about science, and it is about reading. You need those tools, but kind of surrounding and hugging those things are our guardrails, such as anti-racist practices, safe and welcoming schools. We consider those the conditions for success, in addition to things like attendance, that students have to have to be successful.
You just gave me a whole lot, which is cool.
Right.
But let's just break this down in layman terms. If a parent or a child walk away from a school, any school in the city of Philadelphia, what is that common theme you think that parent or that child would just say? And I use Marshall as an example in terms of individuals that want to go to college, but I come from a trade school, so everybody that say they don't want to go to college. But what is that one common theme in terms of academic achievement you think students walk away from when they leave any school in the city of Philadelphia?
It's to be in an environment that's conducive for learning, where they have all the tools to be whatever they want to be when they grow up, and for their future to not be dictated because we've decided to educate in one kind of unique way as opposed to a bigger and inclusive one. But Dr. Watlington can definitely add to the...
And I think that at least going back to even before I came to the district outside of the district had a reputation for driving hard on goals and guardrails. I can tell you that nationally, there's this, the district is known for the board's goals and guardrails, saying we're going to make academic achievement the #1 thing, and we're going to spend most of our time in our board meetings kind of talking about how that's going. So when I think about the culture around academic achievement, coupled with being the fastest improving, I don't know if it's always lands as the most personable, the sexiest, but you're giving us something to think about there from a parent's perspective. Now, what do I want for my own kids? I'll be honest with you. First, what I want is I want my kids to be, I want them to first feel affirmed in who they are and their culture, and I want them to feel validated, and I want them to be healthy and well first, and that's a guardrail around that. So I think we could probably package that a bit more, but academic achievement is the North Star. We're pushing hard, and I hear it when I'm in schools. Schools are pushing hard. You'll see academic achievement up on the boards, attendance as a condition to get there. But I think it could be more customized and more personal to families, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. The chair recognizes Councilmember Nicholas O'Rourke and Councilmember Rue Landau. Then we're officially in our second round.
Thank you, Mr. President. Superintendent Watlington, President Streeter, the Reverend Vice President Andrews. Thank y'all for joining us today. We are long in the tube, so let me try to keep it tight. I want to start by asking a few questions about the school facilities planning process and school closures. Organizers in the education space, like Minority Leader Kendra Brooks, have fought hard against school closures for many years. So I'm interested in hearing more about how the decisions are being made during this cycle. And I've got 4 questions on this particular issue. Once the district identifies potential schools for closure or consolidation, what is the specific process for involving the individual school communities affected? Will there be guaranteed school-specific public meetings before any final decisions are made? How will the district ensure that affected students, families, and staff have a real opportunity to influence the outcome, not just provide feedback on a decision that's already been settled, but really shape it? And how is the district prioritizing urgent health and safety repairs for schools that are not slated for closure to prevent unsafe conditions from persisting for years? Can you speak to any proactive measures to that end?
I'll just, again, from the board's perspective, as it relates to the resolution, I wouldn't call this a school closure plan at all, because the resolution sets forth things that don't have nothing to do with closing schools, such as pre-K, kindergarten in every school, making sure there's algebra in every school, things like that. There's some discussions about repurposing and things like that, but also there could be other things like co-locations and things like that. So I understand the energy and I appreciate the question, but I don't think that this is a school closure programming. But obviously, we're not going to hide the ball that this could lead to some school closures. But I did want to put that information out into the atmosphere, and also want to put out in the atmosphere that, I don't foresee there being a plan day one to completely have a plan that's done in 2 or 3 years, right? I would assume, and this is just me putting on my lawyer hat, that this is likely going to be a phased approach as well. And I believe that the board and the district will be very thoughtful about engaging the population in our community. Also, when you close a school, there's also state law that mandates how it's done, right? So there is a whole process after the process that will be considered by the Board of Education as well. But again, I just want to also just bring it back to, it's not about closing schools, it's about better utilizing our resources so that we can best deliver the educational experience that our children deserve, which could include some school closures. But
President
Dr.
Streeter, I want to
Wellington,
be clear. Thank you, sir. I want to be clear. I'm not trying to double down on the idea that there is a school closure program afoot. I am wanting to get clear on when you have come to a decision to close or consolidate a school, if there is a specific process for involving the school communities that are actually affected. Whether or not there's a program or not on that is less the point. When you get to that point, is there a specific process? Will there be guaranteed school-specific public meetings before any final decisions are made? How will the district actually ensure that affected students, families, and staff have real opportunity to influence the outcome and not just provide feedback on the back end?
Absolutely. We're a little still early in the process, Councilmember O'Rourke, but to answer your question straight away, and in tandem with what President Streeter said about this isn't limited to a school closure plan, to answer your question straight away, yes, we'll be very transparent, very public in this process. We've got a little bit more work to do, but we'll be coming back to the Board of Education over the next few months with a clear, crystal clear framework and methodology for decision-making about how would a team arrive at a conclusion about which school ought to be co-located, schools ought to be located. What's the methodology and the framework for decision-making about which schools ought to be rebuilt or renovated, which ought to be repurposed for some other community use, and which, in some cases, ought to be closed. And we're taking our time to not repeat the pitfalls of the past. In 2012, we know when schools closed, kids got worse. Their academics went down, their chronic absenteeism went up. And the schools where kids will move to, those kids experienced negative outcomes as well. So we're not quite there yet, but we will publicly be able to share that through the Board of Education when we bring that to the board. And folks will have an ample opportunity in the timeline of events for the board. We'll do that in a timely manner so the board has the opportunity, should it be the board's pleasure to, I'm certain the board will want to have public engagement once we bring them recommendations, because ultimately these will be board decisions.
Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, President Streeter. I heard the bell, so I'll let you rock. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Member O'Rourke. The chair recognizes Councilman Ru Landau, and then Councilmember Chair of Education Isaiah Thomas will lead us into the second round.
Great. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Superintendent, Board, everybody, all the school district who's here. You know, we've been doing this for such a long time. It feels, you have a little bit of hope that we are increasing in our numbers, and it still feels, one, scary to feel hope, and two, the pain that it's still not enough. And I know it's so hard to know how hard you all work to get these small gains, so I appreciate that so much. I think we all just want that magic wand, right, where we can just fix all this immediately, and it's so difficult. One thing I'm really appreciating is that it feels like we're no longer normalizing what was the status quo. And that felt for a long time that we forgot to question a little bit about it being outrageous that we were allowing our students to be in the situation they're in. So thank you for that. I want to do a little bit of numbers and then a little bit of policy. So for the numbers, I wanted to go back to 2013 deficit when we had teacher layoffs, class sizes increased, nurses and counselors were laid off, capital spending ground to a halt. Did those decisions create educational and capital deficits that we are still dealing with today?
I would say the impacts were longstanding. When I look at the nation's report card we've studied it carefully, the NAEP data I showed earlier. From 2012, 13 or so, for a decade, we've had stagnant or performance. So to get this bump in fourth grade math, I think is really significant. And it just makes the point, when you have more resources, federal, state, local, plus the COVID dollars, and you have a good detailed plan to be really specific about what we're going to invest in, our kids get better. Now, yes, long-standing impacts. I think I heard the buzzer.
I'm gonna send an additional letter to, go
I
ahead.
have so if you could just finish the answer there, and then I just have a couple of additional follow-ups there.
The second part of your question, could you
Well,
remind me?
let me go to this question. Does the district, council, Harrisburg, and the mayor sit down to figure out a plan ever to get us out of the crisis that we're in? And if not, is that possible?
I'll defer to President Street and the board first.
Yeah, I think that's another magic question. Thank you, Counselor. I'm saying Council because I know we were both attorneys.
Sure.
Councilmember Landau. There's so many threads that connect to this question, and I think what the board's theory of action was during the pandemic was we invested in our facilities to the tune of 5 new schools, classroom modernization, but we also invested in our people to show that when you invest in public education in a way that is student-centered, in a way that focuses on why we exist, you will see change. You will see our children get better. You will see the institution that was chartered to do the work it was chartered to do. And right now we do find ourselves at a precipice, right? Understanding that the state has moved closer to adequacy, and we are so appreciative for every dollar, but understanding it's going to take 10 years to get to the $1.2 billion shortfall that the Commonwealth Court, flowing from the bipartisan commission on adequacy, understanding that 10 years probably is going to take too long. Also understand that $500 million of our budget could be in jeopardy to a board in a district that's actually complying with the law, that is complied with the law as it has been and comply with how the law is still being interpreted by courts every day. It's even going to touch the city of Philadelphia and the school district. We just got finished talking about facilities, but Board Member Stern will probably kick me in my ankle if I didn't mention this. Right now, the reconciliation bill, they're thinking about taking away tax-exempt bonds from being, municipal bonds from being tax-exempt. That's going to hurt all of us. So I'm appreciative of the energy that I felt. I think the board is feeling and the superintendent is feeling that we're all in this together, and that I do think there needs to be a strategy, a coordinated strategy to stymie all of the work and energy that has been taken to lift us into the stratosphere. I'll just use one quick analogy. I think for School District of Philadelphia, for this city, often it takes a lot of energy to escape the gravity of the status quo, right? So as you know, when we try to get something into the atmosphere, it takes a lot of energy to get it and propel it into the atmosphere. And at some point we'll be in orbit, but we're still getting into orbit. This is the worst time to defund or to lessen the amount of fuel that we need to continue with the progress. So thank you for that question.
Are you willing, will you take the steps as the School District of Philadelphia to get the parties at the table to have these meetings that need to happen?
It is our understanding that we want to get through this school year. We're also very blessed that the Board of Education has fund balance to stabilize an issue before it could have been earlier than it could have been. But I think that Dr. Watlington, the board, we're looking to do some advocacy and some more coordinating after this school year.
Certainly, I think the board under President Streeter's leadership and our mayor are the people who are out, leading the advocacy charge. As the superintendent, I feel like my job, and I've heard it said many times, is make the case. This is what we need. These are the inputs we need to get these outputs. And we are certainly going to keep our foot on the gas doing that.
Briefly, I'll be remiss if I didn't raise up our board members who are kind of leading the advocacy work, and I believe that's Whitney Jones, Wanda Novales, Joyce Wilkerson, and Joan Stern. So the quiet conversations are already starting to begin as well, and the foundation is being laid for us to hit the ground running when it is time to hit the ground. Actually, we've already started hitting the ground running, to be honest, as well, going to DC and things like that. So thank you so much for raising this issue. It's a very important issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be at Harrisburg with you. Thanks.
We have a hard stop at 1:30, so I want everybody to be direct with their questions and their response. But I will say, as a follow-up to Councilman Rolandow, that Chairman of Education, Isaiah Thomas, also be a part of that process in terms of the advocacy, and also briefed on how we're getting the type of support that we need. So thank you. Great line of questioning. Chair recognizes Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President. And along that same energy, we will be going to Harrisburg to do advocacy as well. And of course, we'll be joining you like we've done in years past. So thank you for that. I'm going to do a quick round robin here. If I can get Deputy Superintendent Oz Hill, as well as our fiscal director, our CFO, Mike, to come on up. Quick round of robin. I want to stay in line with the Council President's time for today. In the past, we've talked about local procurement and looking at the percentage of school district contracts that go to Philadelphia-based businesses. When we started this conversation a few years ago, that number was in the single digits as it relates to the percentage of school district contracts that go to Philadelphia-based businesses. We talked about the deficit that's looming. Where are we now? What percentage of school district contracts go to Philadelphia-based businesses?
As these gentlemen are coming up, well, just let Chief, I'll let Chief Herbst speak. It's increased. Chief Herbst.
Yes, sir. Currently, through the second quarter of FY25, we're at 32% for this year.
Where were we at when we first started this conversation?
So we have reliable data for this year in the last 2 years, where we were at about 25%, so 7% increase. Prior to that, the data is less reliable, but it was likely within the teens.
So we've at least doubled, but possibly tripled.
I believe that's likely correct. We don't have the data to support it from beyond, to fully support it from before 2023.
My goal is to get that number above 50%. I'm looking at a lot of your bigger contracts. I'm looking at the Office of Athletics. I'm thinking about cleaning. Cleaning is my favorite contract. I'm sure there's somebody in Philadelphia that can clean. What are we going to do to get some of them bigger contracts? Cleaning, substitute teaching, the food contract is another example. 15 seconds, what's your vision to get some of those contracts to be Philadelphia-based businesses? What's your plan, and how can we get that number, which you've done a phenomenal job on, from single digits to teens, from teens to 32%, over 50%? What can we do?
I want to know, first, we're going to follow the letter and spirit of the law, federal, state, local procurement, and the board's policy with a guiding principle to where we can to continue to move these numbers. Chief Herbst.
Well, we can change the law, right? So if the law is the problem as far as local laws, we can do what we need to do to change the laws. And let me be clear why, because when you choose Philadelphia businesses, those dollars, as you know, goes back into the Philadelphia economy over and over again. So this is important, not just for us as the legislative branch of government, but also for you with the deficit that you have looming. That's one of the things that we feel like the district can do to try to help invest in our local economy. Mike, if you can give me a quick answer, because I got to move on.
Yes, sir. We continue to do everything that we have been doing in terms of reaching out to all of our vendors in various ways, working primarily with our operations team and moving into work with our academics team, vendor fairs, vendor knowledge sessions, local and MWBE introductory programs that we've created, supplier office hours, trying to remove all of the barriers for small and
So a lot of those things you said, I'm looking at council members' faces, they don't know what you talk about. So when these events are happening, if you can make sure that my office gets them, and we'll do a better job of dispersing this information, especially to the district council members, so they can make sure that their local businesses and their districts are able to take advantage of these opportunities. I think that's something we can do better, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, Chairman Thomas, Councilmember Thomas, we also are working very intentionally with various chambers of commerce, to include the African American Chamber of Commerce, Latinx Chamber, et cetera. And we recognize that school districts are usually one of the largest employers. So the spirit of what you're saying, we absolutely agree with, absolutely.
50% is, over 50% is the goal. Deputy Superintendent Hill, last time we spoke specifically about the reassignment room, we had a number that looked at 87% backlog. For those who don't know, that means that when you are assigned to the reassignment room, your investigation should take place within 90 days. We had a large number of people who were there well beyond 90 days. And the last time we talked, you said 87% of those cases were clear. How are we doing with the reassignment room, and where are we at with those backlog of cases?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman. Since our last meeting and providing the status of 87% of our backlog cases being reduced, we have since that time in the last week reduced another 30 cases that has raised that to well above 90%.
Thank you. That's great work. Let's keep up the progress. In the same spirit, we're looking at issues specifically related to safety. One of the things that you promised us, I don't know who it is, but someone promised us that we would get a written plan. So when an emergency takes place, there would be a written plan that explains what communication would happen with all parties, including our crossing guards. Where are we at with that written plan so when an emergency takes place, communication goes to everybody, including our crossing guards?
Thank you, sir, again, for allowing us to come back and report that we do have a communications plan that provides or disseminates information not only throughout our school safety office, but also it incorporates communication with the Office of Civil Affairs at PPD, as well as the Crossing Guards leadership. That plan is nested in our Office of School Safety with the Chief of Safety, and then there's also our communications cascade that complements the notification of key stakeholders in the community to include elected officials.
Got a lot more. I'll stop, Council President. I know we're pressed for time. I'll put the rest of it in writing. I don't know if we'll come back for a third round, but just a lot more digging to do around a couple other things. My last shameless plug, because you can't respond. I hate the start date for school, right? Like, I hate it. I don't know why we can't start after the September holiday.
It's like a union
but
issue.
I know, Council President, but I got to go ahead and throw my cheap shot out there. I heard somebody talking about air conditioners and heat and things of that capacity. And you can't respond because we got to move on to the next thing. So let me go ahead and throw my sucker punch in, and hopefully we get to the point where we can do something about the start date of school. But add me as a member of the choir to that issue.
I'm a lightning round response because I asked that question already. It's regarding unions and dates and so forth, but yeah, it makes no sense that we say school is going to start, we know it's going to be hot, then you got to say it's pushed back, but that's more of a union slash how many days they get, they allow the X, Y, Z. So hopefully.
Hey, I'm sorry, one more request. Council President, this is a request, not a question. I'm asking that this is important, this is for you. I'm asking that the School District of Philadelphia give us a breakdown by every councilmatic district as it relates to how much money is spent in every district. I want to see if we spend more money. I was listening to Councilmember Young's questions around literacy rate, and I'm curious to know, do we spend more money in his district than other districts, and is that reflective of some of the academic concerns that he has? Sorry about that, Council President. That question came from listening to members. So before we vote, at some point, we would like to see a breakdown of how much money the district spends for every councilmatic district to see if there's a correlation between academic achievement and dollars spent. Thank you, Council President. That's the real last one.
That's a request you can provide in writing. Councilmember Young.
Really quick, so in my district, we have a lot of the special admit schools too, so it might be skewed. I got Parkway, I got FLA, I got Masterman, right? So those numbers might be a little skewed. So I would ask if you can break it down toward just the catchment area schools as well. That'll be helpful.
We understand that what's being asked for, and we'll take that as a homework assignment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Councilmember Young, when you pressed that light, it went down. But Councilmember Young, Richardson, then Bass, then Harity. Be quick because we're wrapping up at 1:30. Any other questions you're going to have to submit via writing?
So my really brief, I do know it's been mentioned that you are all engaged in conversations with the union, so I want to take a point of personal privilege and give a special shout out to Bernadette Ambrose Smith, president of SPAP, who's someone who I have known since I was 8 years old, right? So just want to put that out there in context of the type of conversations that we have, right? And to understanding what's really going on in the district. Regarding safety, as safety is the district's number one priority, improving safety, what are some things you can tell us about how, some things you're looking forward to in this upcoming contract? I know you can't talk the details of it, but what can you tell us as council that you're doing to improve the safety in these schools?
Quickly, I'll just say, I think we want to be careful about getting too deep into anything with the union negotiations because those are underway, and we try to keep those fairly confidential. But I do think it's appropriate for the Deputy Superintendent, Colonel Hill, to talk about what we're looking forward to in the upcoming year relative to in school safety.
Relative to school safety, sir, and thank you very much for the question, Councilmember Young. Relative to school safety and our enhancements and improvements, we are focused on improving the facilities for our school safety officers down at the Schuylkill Garage, upgrading the facilities so that they have an acceptable environment to work in. We're looking at improving training opportunities, professional development and career enhancing opportunities, as well as their equipment issue and the fleet that our school safety officers have for patrolling.
Thank you. One more quick question.
Very brief.
Getting back on the numbers, Strawberry Mansion High School has a 2% 11th grade proficiency in Algebra 1. Could you tell us what high schools what public traditional high schools have Algebra 1 before they get to 11th grade?
We'll prepare a report and get that to council. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, Councilmember Bass, and Councilmember Harity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Council President Johnson. Quickly, I wanted to get on the record, and I have spoken with Dr. Dawson about this, my concerns regarding the enrollment system and ensuring that all families will really know and understand the process and that it's fair for our schools, particularly the special admission schools, when they have the opportunity to accept students but are unable to based on like other outside competing factors that are internal to the district. And so I wanted to put that on the record relative to the enrollment process and how it really is a disadvantage as it relates to families that have siblings because of the way you have to select the school that you may be chosen for based on the ranking system in the system. It's no opportunity for you to pair siblings if it's a first or second choice school, vice versa, per sibling. So I wanted to put that on the record, that needs to be really flushed out for next year. And then this is an issue that I brought up last year that I think is still important for dual enrollment students relative to their ability to receive an updated transcript prior to the college application process commencing. Because of the students that, and I know you mentioned this in your paperwork here, that we have dual enrollment students that are at CCP, right? And that number is increasing per year. But many times because of the grading dates for CCP versus the district, it's difficult for those young people to get updated grades and GPA for the college application process. And I wanted to put that on the record. In addition to that, I have major concern regarding our career and technical education teachers. I've been hearing from a number of, and I hear the bell of CTE teachers that have been unable to stay with the district for a number of reasons, including their inability to be reimbursed for certifications when most all other teachers across the Commonwealth are reimbursed for those certification costs. In addition to that, we have a different structure than a bunch of other counties here in Philadelphia relative to the CTCs. And so I think we need to look at that as an opportunity for us to get additional funding from Harrisburg, as well as extend the CTE PTE programs from 3 years to 4. I'll submit the rest of my questions for the record for a written response. But again, I just wanted to put on the record about the Philadelphia High School for Girls. And if we can get a listing by breakdown of elementary, middle, and high school of every school that is slated to receive a decrease in teachers across the district and or secretaries and or climate staff from the FY25 to proposed FY26.
Noted. Mr.
Thank you
President.
very much. And we would like this information prior to us voting out the budget, just to be clear.
Will be very timely.
Thank you.
Oh, and Press, can I just mention that I thought that the CASA conference was excellent, and I thought you all did a wonderful job, so we just wanted to shout out Dr. Robin Cooper and the CASA team. We thought you all did a wonderful job for the conference.
Dr. Cooper was a great partner.
Councilmember Bass, Councilmember Harity, Councilman Jamie Garcia, and then Councilmember O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to jump right to it. So a couple of things I wanted to mention as per your conversation with my colleagues. One was on the percentage of contracts that go to minority businesses. You said it was 30.
That was, the numbers restated was local.
That was
I don't know
local.
if we broke it out by any deeper than that, but we'll be glad to do it.
Say again.
That was overall local participation, I believe. We'll be glad to break it down further if that's the request.
Yes, that is my question, if we could have a breakdown, because it really makes a difference. One of the things that we talked about yesterday in our hearing was about the circulation of dollars in communities, and by far the African-American community has the lowest dollar rate circulation, which is about 6 hours compared to other communities. At the sort of like the top is the Asian community, where a dollar circulates for approximately 28 days. In the white community, it circulates for 17 days. In the Jewish community for 19 days, and in the black community for 6 hours. And so that matters because you can't build wealth and you can't build a business if you can't get contracts. And so we hope that your numbers are reflective of what the need is for our communities. Also, I wanted to ask, as a district council member, this is not necessarily related to education, to the schools, but it is kind of related. And that's about something that we hear about all the time, which is parking. Parking in the neighborhood where our schools are. Schools are located in neighborhoods. You know, folks come in, staff comes in, teachers come in, they park in the neighborhood. You know, we hear it, you know. I know I hear it because, you know, it may sort of clog up. I don't know what you can do about parking, but I did want to put it on the record that I heard the concerns of my constituents, but also ask that as you are making plans, as you are building new schools, that there really should be some sort of a thought process at least around parking for your staff and for, teachers and whatnot as they come in, so that there's some dedicated parking somewhere, or there's at least a plan for that. The other question was around, I think there was a question around the listing of schools to make sure how spending was done by council district. I'd actually like a breakdown by actual school. So if you could, like not just 8th council district, this is how much we're spending, 9th council district, this is how much we're spending. I'd like a detailed breakdown by school as to how much we're spending. And one last thing real quick is the Marcus Foster pool and the Pickett School pool. I'd like for you all to elaborate on that so that, because people think I own those pools. And I don't own those pools, you all own those pools. And so what is your plan for those pools? If you could just speak very, very briefly to that.
And the hourly field as well, speaking on behalf of Dr. Member Phillips. Hourly field.
Sure. Going to take a quick stab.
Yes, sir. As it applies to the Pickett and Foster pools, we have completed a comprehensive facility condition assessment to determine exactly what the needs are. The cost associated with the repair, renovation of those facilities has been documented, but at this point, there is not funding allocated in the capital improvement program that we can allocate to that work to be done.
And I'll just say those numbers, as I understand them, about $7.7 million for the Alney Fields, 13.3 for the Marcus Foster Pool, 8.1 million for Pickett. We know what it looks like. We don't have the funding for it, but as the Colonel said.
Can I add briefly? I think there is, I'm not saying that this is, I don't want to speak for the board how I would vote on such a thing, but there is precedent for things that we can think about to get to solutions. I will use the Sayre Pool as an example. Councilmember Gautier was able to get additional funds. I think additional funds came from the state. And I also think the harder part is the MOU piece, which is getting the city and Parks and Recs and all the interested parties to understand what role will they play and what role they will not play in a way that is conducive to a long-term strategy. Also, I don't want to speak too ahead of the board right now because we still have a master facilities planning process, and we're still waiting to see what comes through that. But I do think we can walk and chew gum at the same time and think of other ways to get to yes, so we're not just stuck at a dollar and cents piece, but there could be other productive ways to get to yes, if possible.
Okay, I look forward to the conversations. And, you know, our office is all in with trying to, you know, put up whatever we can obtain. But we need some funds from the school district. Thank you.
And you got other swimming pools in your neighborhood as well, near that area, is there?
Absolutely.
That some of the children can still occupy and go swimming
Well,
in?
we do have some, we have 5 public pools in the 8th district, and we're getting ready to start a swim program. Can I talk about that? No. We're getting ready to start our Ready for Swim program, where we're going to be paying our young people to take swim lessons over the summer months. So more to come. There'll be a press
Now, I
announcement.
think that's great because there was an article in the newspaper recently about particularly people think African Americans don't swim and drowning amongst. I mean, they think we don't swim. Well, my boys at the Y, they go swimming on a regular, but there's this myth. I call it a myth. 'Cause I know we grew up swimming, but
we
according
don't.
to the newspaper, they say we don't swim. So
I'll
good
just
job.
I'll just say this really quickly. We don't
I'm
have.
a shark, so.
Of course. But we don't have access in our communities to quality swim instruction. And that's what we're bringing. Yes.
Swim instruction? So I come from modest beginnings, so they just threw me in the pool, and I learned.
Yeah, no.
But my children go to the Y, and they get lessons.
Yeah, so many learn that.
They get lessons.
Learn that way, but yeah,
They get lessons.
It's traumatic.
But, all right, let me keep it. Good job, though, Member Bass. Councilman Jim Hardy, Jamie Gautier, Nicholas O'Rourke, and then Rue Landau will wrap us up. I'm gonna do the latter two, but we gotta be brief and a brief response, and then we have to wrap up.
Thank you, Council President. I don't know. I was on the swim team at Finnegan's when I was a kid, and I can tell you I got my ass whooped by quite a few.
Wait,
sorry
time,
about that.
Time, member.
I'm sorry. Now,
Decorum for the institution, member.
Slip. Apologize. Yes, respect for the institution. I got beat by quite a few African Americans on that swimming pool. So I've never actually heard that African Americans couldn't swim, but okay. Sorry, and again, I apologize. Momentarily lost my head. You're working on the RISE project for the charter authorization. Is there any relief for schools that are in the process of contesting closures from this framework? If we know there is a problem with the process, is there any relief for the schools while they work through solutions?
What I can say is thank you for that question. I understand the energy and where it's coming from. I can't speak to any issues that are in active litigation or an active process, but I would say that the Board of Education takes its authorizing role very seriously. I would also say that the Board of Education understands, just as in all government, we have to go through policy cycles so that we can continue to ensure that what mechanisms that we have in place continue to do the role that they're going to do. With that said, there are many schools that have gone through the same process, and I believe the board believes we will hold to our processes as they are until and if we have a new framework, and that new framework might take a couple years to even be implemented, and to do so would be a dereliction of our duty under the state law to ensure that we are the authorizers that we have to be. based upon the laws, our charter school law. So that's my answer, sir.
Yeah, and part of it is that there's different laws, right? The charters are held to the standard of what was done in that law. So I guess that's part of it too, but that's state, right?
No framework that we create will conflict with the law, right? We're not here trying to make new law and conflict with the law as well. What we're trying to do is ensure that the framework gets a look just as anything that the school district do it. For example, we had Accelerate Philly as our strategic plan. That's a policy cycle where we ensure on the district side or traditional side that we're continuing to move the needle on academic achievement and evolving with the times and not being stagnant. What we want to ensure is that whatever framework that we as a community buy into impacts students, right? There's better outcomes, there's more quality in the sector, and I think that's one of the questions that we're trying to seek. It's not just about some of the issues that have been raised, it's are we doing a good enough job to ensure that we're holding charter providers accountable in a respectful way that is transparent, where there is no gotcha moments and things like that, or perceived gotcha moments, into a framework that's bought in by the whole sector to ensure that we are incentivizing the type of conditions for success that charter schools and district schools have to have for there to be what the board is aiming at, which is a quality seat as well. You may see a framework that becomes even more stringent as it relates to certain things, but also takes a different look at other things as it relates to student achievement and the conditions for success.
Okay.
Brief, Member Harris.
Yeah, again, I apologize, and I will cut it there just for time. I do have questions, but I'll submit them.
Gautier, O'Rourke, and Landau. Dr. Mott, please be brief.
Thank you, Council President. Last year, without warning, the district eliminated the Multilingual Assessment Center, or the MAC. The MAC was a centralized hub at the district where newcomer families could get support enrolling in school, learning about expectations in our schools, learning about services available to them, and transportation. It was also a place where the district could identify the particular needs of new students and families, including language supports and interpretation. Given the fact that immigration is the main reason why our city has seen any growth over the past 20 years, I find this concerning. And I wanted to ask you, what are the district's reasons for canceling this vital service? Where are newcomer families supposed to go to get these supports? And how much would it cost to bring back the MAC?
Councilmember Gautier, I don't have that, all the details in front of me. With your permission, I would like to take that as a homework assignment and respond on the record.
It's a very important homework assignment. Please.
We'll treat it as a number one on the list, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Rourke, Dr. Nina Mott, and then Councilmember Landau.
Thank you, Mr. President. I echo Member Gautier's sentiments around the MAC, and also want to know what investments the district will make to expand newcomer programming in immigrant neighborhoods in general. But I'll move on to this question, kind of in the spirit of speaking about student supports and well-being. I was intrigued, as you may recall from last year's budget hearings, by the proposal from Lift Every Voice, calling on the district to dedicate resources to advancing joy in our schools. With the same logic that affirms the need to make it a job if you want a particular thing done, so also if we want to make something real, we have to name it before we can claim it. Whether or not it sounds unserious or silly, it's true that if we want more joy, we have to give a spot in our administrative structure to realize that. Has the district met with groups like Lift Every Voice recently to consider their Chief of Joy proposal? What are the district's reflections about the proposal? And I recall you answering positively to the concept last year. Dr. Watlington, can you speak to where we are with that now?
Thank you, Councilmember O'Rourke. Yes, within the past 3 months, we've engaged with individuals who said, name it, and we ought to have a Chief of Joy. Given our budget situation and having to go into the fund balance, or recommending to President Streeter and the board to go into the fund balance, to balance the budget this year, which we won't have that option next year, we think that this is not the time to add add new positions to the budget. Everything we've done heretofore has been budget neutral, but certainly I see my role as superintendent as being in part a chief of joy, and we are cascading that out through the other deputy superintendents and the chiefs, and we want that to manifest itself in kids not being denied recess. We want that to manifest itself, and we're going to follow up to make sure that it manifests itself in terms of us doing more celebration of our teachers and our students and families, i.e. the Accelerate Philly Awards, celebrating our Limback Award winners, and really being more intentional about cultivating a district where joy is manifested.
Thank you for your response. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Dr. Nina Mott, then wrapping up is Rue Landau.
Thank you, Council President. I just have a follow-up to the question I asked earlier. One, to make sure I'm on the record asking for that data. I wasn't sure you were clear that I wanted to get that information. And two is, you mentioned there was uneven growth of students in different parts of the city that makes you have difficult decisions about closures. How transparent is that process with the community? How soon do they know about if there's an imminent closure, or even if it's for either for closing the school because of low enrollment or because you're going to do some repair and rebuilding? What is the process of including community in that process so they're not left scrambling last minute?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Ahmad, Councilmember Ahmad. We will have a very robust community engagement process. You won't hear much in the next 2 or 3 weeks because we're just knee-deep focused, North Star on testing, having the optimal testing environment with the least amount of stress. We will be communicating more about that process, and I want to say that on the record to your point to Councilmember O'Rourke. Yes, and there will be no surprises to anyone.
All right. Thank you, and I'll submit my questions in writing.
Thank you. And last, before we take a break, will be Councilman Rue Landau.
Thank you. 2 subject areas, 1, SEPTA fare cards, and 2, Policy 252. So for the SEPTA fare cards, can you detail which students are currently eligible for student fare cards? What's the structure used to pay for these cards? What days and hours do they work? What would it cost to expand these cards to students who live within 1.5 miles of their school, ensuring they have access to all Philadelphia has to offer? And we know that grades are simply not enough to get our students into quality colleges, universities, and other programs. What would it cost to expand the hours the cards can be used so we can ensure the students always have transportation to work, study, and attend events, get internships, etc.? Next one, I want to ask about Policy 252, which is the policy, we're seeing an unprecedented attack on LGBTQ plus community, as you know. Please detail the commitments included in Policy 252 and how the effects of this policy are felt by students, teachers, and guardians. How are we communicating this policy, which is basically our anti-discrimination inclusion policy, and these commitments to our most vulnerable LGBTQ plus students, their guardians, and teachers? And are we committed to using gender-neutral language on all school forms, including the terms parent and guardian instead of mother and father? And what barriers exist to updating and distributing these new forms?
Let me reaffirm, Councilman Landau, our commitment to diversity and valuing all of our communities. With your permission, I'd like to take the balance of your question as a homework assignment and make it a top priority.
Thank you. I'm with Councilmember Gaudier. Make it a very serious homework assignment. We appreciate that. Look forward. We will also give our questions in writing to Laurel and appreciate very much your answers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We thank you for your time today. Thank you for your testimony. Council, this hearing will be at ease until 2:30.